Welcome to the Fantasy Football Garage. I'm Chris the Candyman, and tonight I've got an extra special stream for you all. I'm going to bring on Cody from Off the Schneid. We're going to talk ball, review his first round NFL mock draft, and then, of course, we're going to get into drafting some best ball teams. So make sure you're subscribed, like the stream. Thank you all for being here. Let's get it started right after this intro. But overall, it's like the guy can ball, like actions speak louder than words. And here he is.
That intro's fuego, eh?
You're liking that?
I like that. That's well done.
Just a little cut up, just dipping my toes back into the video editing and something I put together. So it works for now.
Yeah, well done. Well done.
I appreciate that. Appreciate you. I'm excited to have you on. We've been drafting in these rooms together for such a long time. It feels like, especially last season in Best Ball Mania, we were on the exact synced up schedule. I remember half the time it felt like we'd be in the same room drafting kind of late at night. So it's been a long time coming, man.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, last year that was funny. I remember I reached out to you and I was like, man, what, like, are you on the same period schedule as me? What's going on here? Like synced up when we draft so much together. It was a little wild last year, but yeah, I've only seen you a little bit here and there this year. But when we're in the stream drafts together, it's always a good time. So appreciate you having me on. Everybody, hit that like and subscribe button for us. Support the community, and we're gonna have fun tonight. It's gonna be a good one. I'm excited.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. So one of the things that dropped today that I was really excited to talk to you about, perfect timing, is the Best Ball Mania 6 payout structure, and just getting your initial thoughts on that one.
Yeah. Do you have it pulled up? I don't have it pulled up. We can.
I can.
But I do like there's a couple things off the top that I do just recall that I really liked. The get your money back for one finals team. That like has to be kind of the staple of Best Ball Mania, in my opinion. Like it was last year, it is again this year, and it should be just kind of like a set and forget rule. That should always be the case because it's very, very, very difficult. I've never even made the finals in Best Ball Mania. Right. I've only maxed it once. I maxed it last year for the first time. And I've never made the finals. The year before that, I think it was 70. I did 75 of the 150, but it was less like enticing to max enter because again, you had to finish like, I don't know, top 500 or something like that to get your money back. So with this structure, last year's structure, this year's structure, I appreciate that. You make the finals, you get your money back because it's exceptionally difficult to make the finals. It's like once every 10 years, right? So
100%.
Off the top, that's awesome that they brought that back. 2 millionaires, that's nice, especially for me being Canadian. I don't pay taxes on none of that, so it's really nice. I'd really like to win. If I win first place, even though last year was 2.5 million, I win more money as far as
right.
Canadian dollars are concerned. Ask PPR Tyler how to convert that, and then we'll see how much I end up with. But either way, I like that there's 2 millionaires. The only thing I don't particularly like, I do like the flat nature of the payouts as well. That's fantastic. You finish 100th and you get 10K. That's pretty nice. It definitely disperses the payout relatively evenly, relatively flat. The only thing I don't really like is the regular season money. I'm not a fan of that. I know some people like it.
I would agree.
Yeah, a lot of people wanted it to come back. Some people like it. I don't. They have the separate tournament. Which one is it? The marathon, I think, or the sprint. I can't remember. I don't even play it because if you want to play that, just go play on Drafters. They have their own structure over there and they do it well. Like why I don't particularly understand why Underdog is trying to like encroach on what Drafters does well. let them have that thing, and if you want to draft that way, go draft on drafters. It just eats from the kind of the payout structure for Best Ball Mania, in my opinion.
I agree.
But I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? I just really don't like that regular season dollars getting pulled out. It's like $1.5 million.
When you add it up, I think it does take away from those who make the finals, and that's kind of a bummer. At least I was thinking when they kind of made it, I think Hope had tweeted out what the ratio was, and it was 90% of the money is in the finals and 10% is in the regular season payoff, or maybe 90% is in the advancing weeks. So at least it's only like a small percent, but I would prefer it just goes away altogether and there's no regular season payout. I don't see the point in getting a reward for doing well in the first fourth of the tournament when kind of Best Ball Mania and the underdog structure has always been you have to be able to advance and hit in the playoffs, which is kind of why we've done all of this work and research around how do you make a team that can accomplish that, right? It's not just season total scoring.
Yeah, that's been our draft strategy for the last however long, right? So it's just, it just doesn't make sense to pull it out and then kind of force it, especially when it is such a small amount. Like $100,000 would be sweet. It's awesome. But you'd really have to change your draft strategy to kind of focus on that. Because again, like you said, everything that we focus on as drafters is focused on week 17. Week 17 is all that matters, right? That's why all of the overlays, Spike Week, Best Ball overlay, all the overlays, they focus on weeks 15, 16, 17, right? It's for a reason. That's where the money is. So to pull out a small amount like that, I don't know. It just doesn't make a crazy amount of sense to me. But
yeah,
anyways, that it is what it is. I don't mind it. I don't hate it. Again, like you said, the majority of the money is in the tournament, what we see on screen here, which I appreciate. I just think it's a little bit of a waste. And it also just kind of pulls away from the other tournaments. I don't even think they're going to run that other marathon or sprint or whatever it was that they did last year, that there was a huge amount of overlay. I don't think they're going to run that this year, which makes sense. Again, if you want to draft that way, just go to drafters, draft on there.
Especially with, and we've all been talking about it, with New York kind of getting, the axe on being able to draft. That's sounding like it's making a pretty big difference. I'm honestly curious to see. I was tracking the big board fill rate, and I'm pretty sure the big board is going to fill, but I think there's a small chance it doesn't actually fill.
Yeah, there could be like 2% maybe,
right,
which is not the end of the world. Like this little board, like God knows why they waited this long to
I think it was a
it.
test. I think and I haven't mentioned this a lot, and I haven't heard people talking about it, but I think it was a calibration on a last minute calibration on how many smaller tournaments they think they can drop without affecting the BBM fill rate. And I think they're just on that.
You're kind of cutting out there, dog.
Oh no. I was just saying, I was kind of guessing that I think they're trying to calibrate their ability to fill a larger tournament with smaller ones popping out. So
yeah, I just think like they should have done like a 20 max for like $3 is fine. 20 max, $3, like 10,000 entries. That would have filled no problem. It just doesn't make a lot of sense to do a 50,000 entry tournament in 4 days. Like that does happen over the summer. We do see it. It does happen, but it's over the summer. Nobody's drafting right now except for the absolute sickos. So I think that's pretty like aggressive to think that you can fill the 50,000 entry tournament in 4 days. So I don't know. I'm scrambling to try to get to max enter this thing, and I don't even know if I'm going to get there personally, but there's going to be huge overlays, so I'd really like to. It's like 5 of 12. Let's say it gets to 50%, right? What does that even mean for overlay? Is that like 6 of 12 advance? I'm not even sure what that even means, but it's kind of crazy. But we'll see how it goes with this little board and the other tournaments that won't fill either.
Yeah. That something else you said. So last year was your first year maxing Best Ball Mania.
Yeah.
Same here. So we're on a similar schedule with that. And then you said the year before you did about 75 best ball manias.
Yeah, about that. Yep.
That's exactly what I did. So it's funny. We've been kind of out here drafting and doing this thing. My first year on Underdog was 2022. But I didn't do best ball manias. I was just drafting puppies and I was kind of casual about it. And then
Nice.
2023 is when I went hard and dove into the manifesto and following everyone's game theory and strategies and went pretty hard at it. And then last year it was like, just kind of cutting loose and
Damn.
really just playing as much as I could.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I did cash games mostly, like
Yeah.
just 12 person. And honestly, for anyone that's relatively new to best ball, if you're new and you want to like just kind of build a bankroll, playing the cash games is the best way to build a bankroll. No questions asked. They're the easiest to, I'm not going to say they're easy to win, but it's easy to finish top three relatively, and you
Hmm.
can build a bankroll that way. So I think I like washed out my money. I did probably like 5 best ball manias the first year, which is I think the same year as you for best ball mania 2, I think. Yeah, I didn't play best ball mania 1, so best ball mania 2,
Right.
and I got in like just a few. Didn't really do it too much. Did a bunch of cash games, probably broke even. Then the next year, again, dialed it up a little bit. So yeah, we're on the same schedule, it seems like, and now it's a full-fledged addiction, and here we are.
Another thing I wanted to ask you on was how'd you come up with your channel name for Off the Schneid?
So a buddy of mine, we originally had a channel together a little bit. Well, it was like a podcast on audio way back in the day before I was ever on YouTube. And I was getting it going again for like on YouTube and visual, like it was more than just audio. And we kind of came up with the name together, and then he kind of fell out, and it was just me, and here we are. So it just kind of happened. It's more of a hockey term, to be
Hmm.
honest.
Hmm.
Like it's a sports term in general, realistically, but it's more of a hockey term than anything. But being Canadian, I guess that makes sense. So yeah,
Sure.
it's just a pretty common term. People that don't know it, it's like, man, you're a sports fan. How have you never heard of Off the Schneid?
No, I definitely hear it. And it's funny
Yeah,
to hear it kind of more now. And just because I'm so familiar with your channel, it's like I think I'm seeing it more than I ever did before.
or
Um,
hearing it. Yeah,
one of the headlines last week or no, a couple days ago, Justin Thomas won the RBC, and the headline I saw was Justin Thomas off the Schneid, and I
shout
was
out,
like, hey, and good for him too. I
shout
know
out.
you're
Yeah,
following the tour, so
yeah. No, that was good for him for sure. And yeah, every time I hear it, I'm always like, yeah, shout out.
that. And then I don't know if I asked you in your chat yet, or if we talked, but the Rory Masters win. Were you pulling for Rory? How'd you feel about
Oh
that
yeah.
finish?
Yeah, you got to be pulling for Rory, man. Like everybody wanted him to win that Grand Slam. Like of course you got to be pulling for Rory. Even the biggest like Rory haters, you got to be pulling for Rory in that one, especially with the collapse on Thursday. Did you
Oh
see the
yeah,
picture of him in the clubhouse? He like ripped his shirt. He was not happy. Like he was on his phone. His shirt was all ripped up. His hat was all messed up. He was pissed after he dropped those 4 shots on Thursday, and then he came out like a bat out of hell on Friday. Shot like 8 under or whatever it was, and then yeah, the story goes on from there. But it was yeah, you definitely got to be rooting for Rory. He's one of my favorite players. Like if you're a fan of golf,
no doubt.
he's one of the best golfers ever. If it wasn't for Tiger, he would be up there as far as like wins and everything like that. And look how many golfers have won the Grand Slam.
Right.
Like in our generation, only 2 have ever done it. And it's only 4 tournaments. It sounds like it should be easier, but it's really, really not easy, obviously. So even Phil didn't do it. But yeah, no, I was rooting for Rory. Absolutely.
Instant classic, the ups and downs, the pairings, the leaderboard changes. It had it all. It was a Masters. I think one of the best we've seen probably definitely since
This
Tiger's
Tiger one. Yeah.
2019 comeback win for
Scotty's
himself.
first win was pretty good. It was okay, but you're right. Since the Tiger last win, this is the best one by a good margin, I think.
It was fun. So one thing I went ahead and loaded, and I'm sure all of you in the chat know, and it obviously, if you aren't following Off the Schneid, get over to the channel and make sure you're subscribed, of course. But I think a lot of you have been following how busy Cody's been in the last week. He had his first round mock stream, and then he followed that up with his 12-hour stream, which I was popping in and out of. I was with my family for the weekend out of town, but I was catching as much as I could. There are so many good segments in that 12-hour stream. I feel like it's like a gold mine of like different pockets of like just hilarity and then a bunch of good drafting and everything going on. So that was a fun time.
Yeah.
And shout out to you. I hope you've recovered a little bit from that experience.
Yeah, my voice is still like recovering. It was Steve was on. Shout out Steve. It was good. There's a lot of like just chaotic moments, which there kind of always is going to be when you get a bunch of different personalities in there. And a lot of good ball talk, really. Like I honestly, when Steve was on, I enjoyed talking ball with him. I thought you could get some value out of that. I thought people got a lot of value out of that conversation. Ripped a bunch of drafts. Had tons of awesome guests, and yeah, there was a lot of just chaotic nonsense in there, which is great. And you're probably going to see a lot of that tomorrow night too. So tomorrow night we're doing the live round one stream over on the Fantasy Sanctuary.
Yeah,
that'll be awesome. That'll be fun, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of chaos in that.
Yeah, shout out to the Fantasy Sanctuary as well. I'm going to see if I can't pop in on that stream about this time tomorrow once I get my house settled down and the kids asleep. So I'm hoping to join that. And hopefully the draft isn't too far along. There's still some exciting things happening.
Well, your team doesn't draft till late, so it might work out. It might work out for you. But yeah, we do need a rematch.
I'm actually wearing, and it's not his, but it's the Texans draft hat that Will Anderson and CJ Stroud both got on their draft night. I purchased it. Nice. I think I got it like the week or two before. So I was wearing it and they both got drafted and I was like, this is amazing. 2 first round picks. Like, whoa, like, that was great.
Yeah. 2 and 3, right? That was a good draft for you guys. That's for sure. Change the franchise around
so quickly.
Putt Daddy's comment there. We do need a rematch. We need a blind rematch. Like the way he's friggin' just a super computer for speed. Like, it's not like he knew more. That fucking guy. We need a rematch. We need a rematch where it's like you have 5 seconds to answer something or like 10 seconds to answer. Anyways, that's another story for another day. But I did already pay up on the bet. Not nice. I have one final big board to draft. And if I can do a Genty Bowers, I will. If I can't, I've already paid it back in the little board. So either way, so I made good on the bet.
That's hilarious. Yeah, shout out to Steve. Definitely was dropping a lot of ball knowledge. And yeah, I originally, when I was quote tweeting your 12-hour stream and I put if we get 100 likes to Jenny Bowers, it just came to me in the moment. I was like, I think most of your community would think that would be funny. So
well, PPR Tyler said that too when he was on. Quickly, one of the times it was kind of open door policy a little bit. Everyone was in and out. BBG was in and out. Emo Cowboy, PPR Tyler in and out. And yeah, at one point he said that as well. Like, how many likes do we need to get for you to do a Genty Bowers team? Anyways, yeah, it was good. It was really fun.
I think you said a million in the moment.
Yeah, I think I said I don't think there's enough. Like, I don't know. I don't know. But then I lose a bet and had to do it anyways. So it is what it is. But no, it was a really fun time. The 12-hour, it was exhausting, but it went a lot faster than I thought it would. Actually, it wasn't exceptionally difficult. Especially because I had a lot of good guests on. So that made the stream go by quick.
100%. Yeah, it was fun. It was, like I said, I was with my family all day and I was out of town, but I kept checking back in every once in a while and it just kept rolling on. It was a lot of fun. So without further ado, I'm going to pull up, and then this, it might be a little bit small, but what this is Cody's round 1 mock for the NFL that he reviewed on his channel last week. I added some boxes in green. I've grouped fantasy potential kind of actual players, so quarterbacks, running backs, tight ends, and wide receivers. And then I threw an orange box around other impact players that could really impact an offense. So these are like tackles, maybe some guards in there. And surprisingly, I don't think I see any centers, and I haven't seen a lot of centers in this draft. But if Will Campbell goes to the Patriots, their offense is going to be a little bit more productive. Does he give them half a win or a full win? Who kind of knows? But that's just other things to consider. So I thought we could jump through this with the kind of framing of which of these moves would impact the fantasy landscape and like some of your thoughts around that.
Yeah, definitely. Like obviously Cam Ward, that's locked in. It is what it is. Travis Hunter, they like him more as a wide receiver. So that impacts, let's say, Jerry Jeudy for sure. I'm not drafting Jerry Jeudy at his current ADP. Plus, he can't catch a cold realistically. Charged with 10 drops last year, Jerry Jeudy, which is classic. That's what we've come to expect from Jerry Jeudy realistically. And then if Travis Hunter goes in there, he just walks into being wide receiver one. And then that what I've been thinking about lately is that's what's interesting about him going there, because he will be, no questions asked, by head and shoulders the wide receiver one on that team. So how much are they going to want him to play defense?
Right.
Like, given the fact that he's going to have such an important role on offense, because I really think that he is on the Browns. So that's a huge impact. I started taking Travis Hunter a lot more when it became obvious that he was going to the Browns. When it was the Giants, I don't know. I think they would have played him a lot more two ways.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that would have impacted his offensive production. Whereas with the Browns, that he's going to be so important to that offense. Just depends on the quarterback that they get. So yeah, those two off the hop. And then Will Campbell, like you said, it affects the offense. It affects Ramondre mostly. The wide receivers, sure, he'll have more time, a little bit of more running around for Drake May as well, but they just have to address the offensive line. Will it be Will Campbell? Probably. I mean, the betting odds say that it will be. Not that means everything. Do I think he should be the pick? No, I actually don't. I actually don't think he's the number one tackle at all in this class. If I were the Patriots, I'd go with either Membu or even Kelvin Banks before Will Campbell personally. But this isn't what I would do as the general manager of these teams. It's what I think these teams will do by reading into everything that I go through, looking at the depth chart, like connecting pieces and everything like that. It just made the most sense. Tyler Warren, I think the way that the Jets want to play offense makes sense for that team. They want to play, in my opinion, they want to play a lot of 12 personnel, 2 tight ends, 2 wide receivers, fullback, which they brought in this offseason, and then run the shit out of the ball and play good defense. Yeah. That's the best route for victory for the Jets, realistically. So,
and I think Tyler Warren has been this consistently rising up the round one board for the last probably 3 weeks straight. It seems like maybe he had a chance of being there in the second half of the first round. And it's like, now he's almost certainly a top 10 pick, right?
Yeah. The interesting thing with mock drafts, like the easy thing to do with Tyler Warren is put him with the Colts, right? So like, that's something I most certainly try to not ever do when I'm doing I do one mock draft. So I want to put all of my heart and soul, put all of my effort into it. Right. I'm not just going to put Tyler Warren to the Colts because it makes sense. It's like when I look at some people's mock drafts, it looks like they put players to certain teams and then draft around that, which is not the way to go about it. That's obviously not how NFL franchises go about it. Like Jalen Walker, everybody has him going to the Panthers, and I would too if he's still there. But there's a ton of connection to the Raiders, and everybody loves Jalen Walker. Everybody in the NFL loves Jalen Walker. Plus, he's a top 5 player on Daniel Jeremiah's top 150. Like, why does he not go to the Raiders? Why does he not fit with that team? They lost Spillane, they lost Divine Diablo. Right. So they need an off-ball linebacker. Plus he can rush the quarterback on third down, put him on the same side as Max Crosby with Christian Wilkins. That's ridiculous right there. So that's kind of why I go with stuff like that, where it's like, forget about who's going to take him if he's there. If he doesn't get there, then they don't have a chance to take him anyway. So it really doesn't matter. And then the ultimate wild card is Ashton Genty. Obviously, that's the ultimate wild card of the entire, let's say, top 10. I don't think he makes it out of the top 10.
Mm-hmm.
Would I draft Genty in the top 10? No, I would not. Not a chance in the world would I draft Ashton Genty in the top 10 of the NFL draft personally, but he's going to go. It is what it is. I just think all of this Jags talk is smoke. It's lying season. It's 2 days before the draft, 3 days before the draft, the day before the draft. To think that like all of a sudden they're now in on Ashton Genty. Maybe it's now leaked and maybe it is true. Maybe they leaked it on purpose to get someone to trade up. Who knows? It's lying season right now. So
Totally.
Yeah, we'll see how that works out. But realistically, it's a handful of teams: Jags, Cowboys, Bears. That's pretty much it. One of those teams are probably going to end up with Ashton Genty. I guess the Saints are still a wild card as well for Genty, which would make me super right, and that would be awesome. I would actually be super happy if Ashton Genty goes to the Saints. No, I don't think a single other drafter in the community would be happy about that, but that would put a massive smile on my face. So we'll see how that one works out for me.
Yeah. One, and this is kind of a random thought out there, but one of the things I've started to see over the last 2 days, and you're right, it's lying season, but that's, you got me thinking. One of the beat writers for the Texans, who I actually trust pretty strongly, with what he says and what he's reporting, he was saying that the Texans have been making some calls to potentially move up to get an offensive lineman with one of the first 15 picks. So there could be some movement there that I think makes a lot of sense, but hasn't necessarily been on the radar. So it was Nick Schwager, and he was the one, he covers the Texans for SB Nation, and he's got his own blog, and he's pretty active on Twitter, but just a guy who I thought that's really interesting. Yeah. I mean, the Texans have been more aggressive with their kind of how they've been running the team the last few years with Nick Caserio, and they've just been, kind of understanding, I think, that they have to seize the moment and take advantage of Stroud on his rookie contract. They're building around the defense really strongly, but and you've mentioned this on your stream a bunch, the offensive line was the biggest issue last year. They've already mixed it up a good amount. Is that enough to overcome some of the issues? Obviously, getting rid of Tunzel's not great, but if he wasn't the key leader they need on that line, is it better? It's more of a sum of the parts thing where they bring in a bunch of other experienced veterans. Maybe they draft a rookie who can start immediately. And at the current draft spot for them, is that same caliber of starting rookie offensive lineman available? I'm not 100% sure.
Honestly, I don't think there's like outs. I think they'll all be gone. Like, how far can they move up? Like, I have Kelvin Banks going 13th, and that's actually probably lower than most. Yeah. Most have him gone before then. Like Josh Simmons, he comes with a lot of question marks plus the injury. So I guess with the Ohio State connection, if they can get up that far, but that's already, I have it at 16. It's possible that he's there. I just don't know like who they would be willing to shell out assets to move up for. Like, you would have to get into the top 15 for sure. And who wants to move out of the top 15 as far as where we're at? I guess like the Falcons would be, the number one. I have the Falcons trading out. So they would be the number one spot to kind of look at as far as a trade down option. But who are they trading up for realistically? Like, they're not trading up for a guard like Tyler Booker. That's for sure. I don't even think Tyler Booker, I mean, yes, he's a wonderful person and leader and talent and all this kind of stuff, but he's really not very athletic. So unless you're just like a straightforward run between the tackles kind of an offense, like maybe the Ravens, or I don't even know who else I would put him in. Maybe the Browns. I like, who would you even put him on where you're getting like the most unathletic guard possible in first round? That's a first round talent. I have a hard time believing it, although I think I'm in the minority as far as people in the know around the league. It seems like, the betting odds have him as going as a first round pick, but and he's been linked to the Texans as well, obviously, with him being called the Will Anderson of the offense, right? That sort of stuff. I don't know. We'll see, but I just don't know who, if we're talking about the Texans, trading up for an offensive lineman, who would it be that they would even be able to get access to? It would be my question. That's worth trading up for. Like, if you think Josh Connerly is that guy, then I guess be my guest. I really do not think that that's someone worth trading up for. If you could trade up and get Calvin Banks, Armand Membu, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
But that's going to cost a pretty penny. And
for
who's
sure.
willing to trade down? Like 9, maybe, if you want to trade with the Saints, but that's going to be at least the 25 and next year's first.
I think you put
So
it really well there, is who is even worth trading up for, because the kind of tier breaks on these first round offensive linemen, there are going to be offensive linemen drafted in the first round that are not necessarily a first round grade because of the need at the across the league for that position. It's going to just force some of those players into the first round who maybe are actually a second round talent, but could still prove themselves. But I think if they do move up, it's got to be, I don't know who it would have to be with. I mean, it would have to be pretty early, maybe in the top 12, 13 picks. I mean, they're not going to be trading with the Colts. So, I think where you have Banks is appropriate. If it was maybe I think it's a fine offensive line class. If it's maybe a bit stronger, Banks might be a guy that's actually going at the end of the first round, maybe. But also, I'm a pretty big Banks fan, just being a Longhorn and watching every game that he's played in his career. Just because I'm a kind of a diehard orange blood, Longhorn fan, and I don't miss games. So I've noticed that, yes, he's good. He's got the national coverage, and but I think at the same time there are a lot of other players. I think you mentioned Josh Simmons. You got him in here too. I think, is the Ohio State connection stronger, and is that a guy they're going to try to trade up and get? So we could see a lot of movement, I think, in trades this year in the first round too. You had a couple. I think at least you've got the Genty trade up for the Cowboys here, thinking that they would need to move into the top 10 to be able to secure that. So that's the Panthers, if I'm not mistaken, trading back out. Were there any other trades that you had, or is that the one you feel strongest about? Oh, the Jackson Dart trade. That was the other one, right?
yeah, I had a couple, yeah, and shout out Steve in the chat. He had the exact same trade, Cowboys trading up, but I think his was to the Raiders. So we both had the Cowboys trading up for Ashton Genty. And then, yeah, the Jackson Dart thing, I'm just super, super confident that the Giants are going to end up with Jackson Dart. I actually put a bet probably about a month ago. So I was thinking that the quarterbacks would rise more, especially Jackson Dart. So yeah, it was about a month ago. I put like a $10 bet on Jackson Dart to be the 3rd overall pick.
Yeah.
Obviously, quarterbacks didn't rise that far. He's probably not going to be the 3rd overall pick.
Right.
But it was a month ago. It was way before anything, really materialized as far as, what was going to shake out and who was going to fall where. So we'll see. I highly doubt that happens, but I'm very confident that the Giants want Jackson Dart, and that seems to be the consensus now. I mean, I've been talking about it for a long time. Like I said, I put that bet in about a month ago, and I've been talking about it a lot on my channel. There's just too much connection to ignore. So I think they trade up. It's just a matter of where, especially because they have the assets too with that 34th overall selection in the 2nd round. And like Joe Shane, Brian Dable, their jobs are on the line. If they're guy that they like, those two drafted Josh Allen as well. And he was a bit of a project, a lot of question marks with the Buffalo Bills. Brian Dable was the offensive coordinator, and Joe Shane was the assistant general manager for the Bills at the time. And there's just an absurd amount of connection with Jackson Dart realistically. So I'm pretty confident about that one actually, but we'll see.
I like that one.
And then the Browns trading back in with the Shadur Sanders slip. And then the Browns trade back in to get Shadur Sanders. And then actually I had another one, the Bears trading back into the end of the 1st round there with the Commanders to get Amarian Hampton, who slipped a little bit as well, the way I had it kind of shaking out.
So I'm looking back through, do you have the Bears? Did they have 2 first-round picks, or is it, no, it's just that one, right?
They have the 10th overall, and then they trade
10th overall.
back
Yep,
in.
there it is.
Yeah, because they have those 2 early seconds, 39 and 41, I believe. So they have some assets to be able to trade. and then get back into the first. And I know the Commanders they probably won't mind trading down depending on who's there. They could just take Amari and Hampton as well at 29.
Yeah.
But realistically, I think they need some help on the back end of the defense, and then the offensive line. They need a pass rusher, and they don't have a crazy amount of picks. So I think the Commanders are definitely a target to trade back, to trade down, potentially out of the first round. Especially if there's a slip on someone like Hampton, which I don't think is crazy realistically. And I've been talking about this with a few different people. Again, Steve and I were talking about this as well, and we had the same thing in our mock draft as well. Whoever the Broncos don't take, I see them slipping a little bit. So if the Broncos take Hampton, I could see Henderson slipping to the back end of the first. If the Broncos take Henderson, I could see Hampton slip, or vice versa. You get what I'm getting at?
I think you nailed it. I think Henderson, 20 the Broncos, while some people have said that's the spot where Hampton could go, I think I like the way you've done it. Henderson had way more spotlight this last season than Hampton did. Yes, the NFL scouts are aware of Hampton, but Henderson, I mean, there are like, in my mind, there are just like historic moments of last year's season in college football. Travion Henderson had one of those moments. He literally carried his team, Ohio State, to the national championship with his screen. It was 50-yard screen pass that he caught with 7 seconds before halftime. I was standing, my seat was in the end zone behind where he scored it in Jerry World. I was there with my brother. I was super psyched to root on the horns. And so then I saw that happen, and I was like, he catches the ball. He has pretty much a free lane down to the end zone. And I don't think he even had to break a tackle. I think he kind of just outmaneuvered everybody on the field, with Texas being one of the teams that gave up the least big plays, splash plays in entire college football across the entire country last season. And they've got some of the best secondary, like one of the most elite defenses. And I'm definitely biased, but I'll say it. And then to see him break off that play and flip the script, I was like, just the breath still like taken out of me in that moment. I think those are the kind of plays and games that stick with, from my perspective, the NFL scouts are going to say, we want a guy who can give us a big play and win a game for us like that. I'm sure there's some other moments that Hampton had that could be similar, but that one was the national spotlight, right? It was the semifinal game. So there was that one that I think of. I think of Golden's catch in the quarterfinals against Arizona State, where you had the battling of Cam Scatabo having one of the best performances in the recent college football playoff structure. He threw for a touchdown. He rushed for one. He had a bunch of receiving yards. He had an insane amount of rushing yards. He was puking on the sidelines. So you have the Scatabo game. You had the Milroe game against Georgia, which I think alone is going to get him drafted. If I'm not mistaken, he had those 3 rushing touchdowns.
I think they still lost that game, though, didn't they, in the end?
Alabama?
Yeah, I think they might have still lost that game. Or they were way up. They were way up, and then Georgia came back in that game. I can't remember who ended up winning that game.
I'm going to Google it because I can't remember. No, Alabama won, yeah.
Okay, they did, yeah.
Yeah,
they were up by like 3 touchdowns, and they kind of blew the lead, yeah.
I know this last season was insane. It's like half the games I can't even remember. I see it, I'm like, oh yeah, that happened, because it was a pretty compelling season last year, I think.
Yeah, for me, it's just everything that Sean Payton covets in a running back. That's what Travion Henderson brings to the table. So, especially in pass pro, I've been saying it that's why Travion Henderson's my number 1 running back over Ashton Genty, because at the top of the draft, he is the number 1 pass blocker, and it's not even close. He's not the number 1 in the entire class. LaQuint Allen is, but he's probably top 3 in the class. And as far as the top ranked running backs, he's number 1, and it's not even close. And then that whole joker role that Sean Payton's looking for, that's Travion Henderson. It's not Amari Hampton. I love Amari Hampton. He's a great prospect. He's going to be a great NFL player, but that's not what he is. That's what Travion Henderson is. That's why I think at the end of the day, it's going to be Henderson for the Broncos. And then whoever it's not, whichever running back doesn't go to the Broncos, I see sliding just a little bit. And if they're there, I think the Bears, have an easy decision to make in trading up. Just finding a partner will be the difficult kind of thing.
Yes.
So.
No, I like the way that you've outlined it here, though. And then I think Steve said something really sharp in the chat as well. Copycat of the Gibbs prototype.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that also is really interesting kind of way to go. The Broncos trying to maybe do that, being on the edge of being a playoff contending team and kind of pulling it all together. If Bo Nix can take another step forward, and one thing I think it was Whohams. Yeah, here it is. Tons of buzz today about Gray Zabel. Not a player that I'm not super aware of. I've seen him in the mocks. I've seen a little bit about him. You have him here going at 28 to the Lions. Do you have any do you think that kind of would be an instant starter for them, or is that just more depth? Where does that what does that do for their offense?
So they lost Kevin Zeitler at right guard. So he would just slide right into right guard immediately. He can start literally anywhere on your offensive line, left tackle to right tackle, anywhere. He can play, including center, anywhere on your offensive line. So he can slide right into right guard right this second. Graham Glasgow is like 33 years old in the last year of his contract, they can get out of him after this year, plus his age. So left guard, right guard realistically are a need for that team. Even Taylor Decker's getting up there in age. So they need to keep a strength. What I was saying with that pick and a few of the picks throughout my mock draft is keep your strengths a strength, right? You don't want to start to, look at the Cowboys. Like their strength was their offensive line until it wasn't, and now it's not, right? So it's like they stopped throwing assets at it, and then it became a liability. So keep your strength a strength while it is a strength and turn it over. It's a lot easier to turn it over while it's already there. You already have these good, solid pieces. Penei Sewell's still there. They still Ragnow, Decker's still okay, but their interior, their two guard spots are going to be an issue and not too long. So throw a guy that can do anything on anywhere you need him to. If there's an injury, he can slide around and pick up the slack. And I just think he's a Dan Campbell guy. I know at the Senior Bowl, he got a lot of buzz at the Senior Bowl because he was taking reps everywhere for everything, any situation. Typically in a kind of all-star game type of situation like that, guys will have a good rep and then they'll go get a blow, get some water, go talk to a trainer or something like that, take a play off. They had a good rep, so they're not trying to put any bad tape out there, right? If you're a little tuckered out after a couple reps. He was like, oh, you need a center? That's me. Oh, you need a left tackle? I'm up. Oh, right guard? Let's go. Like whatever you want, whatever you need, I'm your guy. And that's what Dan Campbell likes. So I think if he falls there, it's possible the Seahawks could go after him, but I just think they see too much Kyle Hamilton with Mike McDonald in Seattle. It's Kyle Hamilton just way faster, same size, just extremely faster than Kyle Hamilton. So and there is a lot of connection there. I think that's a match made in heaven, but that's another spot where Gray Zabel could end up. He's just versatile, so he's going to find his way into the first round somewhere. It's just a matter of kind of where that could, your Texans could be a good spot for him, actually.
Very, very true. I was going to mention, you talked about doubling down on your strengths. I was chatting with one of my buddies yesterday, and what are the Texans going to do? He's actually more of a Cowboys fan, but we were talking through those two teams and the potential picks. And I think where you have, and we'll jump back to some of these fantasy relevant players real quick, but Kenneth Grant and where you have him going to the Texans is doubling down on a strength that is, making that defense even more elite and getting some more depth, shoring up the defensive line. So I like that pick. And I think the Texans have also become a team that is more selective from the kind of whatever tier you want to call them, but like the Michigans, the Ohio States, the Alabamas, those are the types of team. Notre Dame, these are the teams that they're drafting most of their players from these days, it seems like. And there's a number of teams that kind of follow that trend. I think of the Eagles being one of those teams. I heard it on another mock podcast today. Trying to think of, there's another team that
Maybe
has really
my
been leaning into.
My Bengals have drafted 5 Michigan Wolverines in the
Yeah,
last 4 drafts, sorry, and last year it was a second round pick, the year before that it was a second round pick, the year before that it was a first round pick, all out of Michigan, and that's why I had them taking Will Johnson out of Michigan, right? It's just, yeah, the blue blood programs like best ball and colleges said there, they're pro made, they're pro
that's the
ready,
word. Yeah, blue
right?
blood. I couldn't think of
Yeah.
it.
So they're pro ready players, like they're plug and play for the most part. There's not too many issues. If there was issues, these teams would have no problem saying, "Get the fuck out of our program." Like, go, you need to transfer out. Like, we don't need that here. It's just there's too much talent in these programs, these blue blood programs, where they don't need the James Pierces of the world, right? It's like,
True.
go be someone else's problem. Like, I don't care how good you are. I really don't care how talented you are. Go be somebody else's problem. I can replace you 4 times by the end of the day tomorrow.
Interesting.
So I agree with that method. It makes tons of sense, right? Grab the blue blood players, grab the pro ready plug and play. You need a tight end, take a look at Penn State, right? You need a left tackle, take a look at Alabama, Michigan, Texas, these types of places, right? You need a pro ready
Sure.
player, go to these programs, and chances are you're going to find it. So
Yeah, I agree. I think it's real smart. One thing I wanted to flip back to, I just remembered um, something about Jackson Dart. When you were talking about Dart earlier, you're seeing him line up with the Giants. I was hearing it was actually Lane Kiffin was talking recently, and he still has like he's still kind of pissed off about the way that the season unraveled for him and Ole Miss, and how I think in their wins their average margin was 2 scores. In their combined losses they lost by like, well, he quoted it was maybe 8 points total in all of their losses. And so their team didn't make the college football playoff. They were one of the first teams out. I mean, also, Miami also got screwed in that way. But if Jackson Dart, going back to what I was saying on those like seminal moments of last year's college season, Jackson Dart makes it to the college football playoff, he gets more spotlight. I think the hype on him going in the first round would have been a lot higher all offseason, right? And so that really kind of missed opportunity, I think, is going to maybe impact to some extent the number of teams they really have him on their radar. And I know the number of teams drafting a QB in the first round is already small, and I'm sure they've got the resources to kind of, get past the fact that he didn't get to play an extra game or two. But I think that was interesting. Just the fact that he didn't have that chance.
I say that about Trey Harris too. And if Trey Harris was on this team healthy playing, maybe this is a college football playoff team, right? And Trey Harris's numbers would have been video game numbers. So we might be talking about Trey Harris as the number 1 wide receiver outside of Travis Hunter, obviously, but we could have been talking about Trey Harris right up there with Tet McMillan. And to be honest with you, I have Trey Harris, I think, ahead of Tet McMillan, maybe not in my wide receiver rankings. I'd have to look again, but again, if he had not gotten hurt and been playing for Ole Miss, they probably make the college football playoffs. Like you said, Jackson Dart maybe has a little bit more shine. I actually really like Jackson Dart as a prospect. I don't think he's ready to play in the NFL, but I don't think any of these, I've been saying it time and time again on my channel, none of these quarterbacks are ready to start in the NFL, not even Cam Ward. But give him a season behind Russell Wilson. And even if Russell Wilson gets hurt, throw Jameis Winston out there. We don't need to force Jackson Dart into the game. And hopefully, I think this is the theory with Joe Shane and Brian Dable, is these 2 veteran quarterbacks will get us just enough wins to keep our job. And then we've got Jackson Dart coming in. We've got, Malik Neighbors. We've got Abdul Carter. We've got these blue chip players now, and we have our offense set up. That's why I think they go down that road. And there's just too many connections. And speaking of Lane Kiffin, like, who took over for Lane Kiffin at Alabama? Brian Dable. There's just so much connection. The last good quarterback that the Giants had went to what school? Eli Manning, Ole Miss, right?
Facts.
There's just too many connections. There's too many connections for Dart and the Giants. It doesn't make sense that they wouldn't draft him, if I'm being honest with you. So I would honestly be shocked if they don't find a way to draft Jackson Dart. I would honestly be shocked unless someone else takes him earlier than he probably should go.
I can see the infographic now that they're going to put on the screen. The Giants selecting Eli Manning, Ole Miss, selecting Jackson Dart, Ole Miss. Like it's almost too obvious. Shout out to all the boys in the chat coming through strong tonight, showing the love. I really appreciate you guys being here and hitting the like, hitting the sub. It sounds like we hit the 100 subscriber goal. So big thanks to y'all and to the whole community. I know Steve was on earlier tonight putting on a show. I know that Tyler was in here as well too, Emo Cowboy and PPR Tyler, and also Eric, Best Ball Guy. Shout out to you guys, all the other creators, and all the guys in the chat who have been drafting these big boards with me this summer so far. It's been a great time, and I'm stoked to get into Best Ball Mania season. It's going to be hot best ball summer. We're going to be drafting here on the channel all summer long, usually late at night. You know how the vibes are. So appreciate y'all being here. Make sure you're subbed if you're into drafting best ball, talking ball, and that's what we got coming up. So yeah, appreciate y'all all being here. Tons of activity in the chat. So just appreciate y'all on that one. Yeah, and I think Trey Harris too. I'm into Trey Harris. I think it was Bendels actually, and Bendels was in here much earlier. Bendels would put me on to Trey Harris a little bit more, convincing me to grab him at his current ADP. I know you've been big on, and we're jumping out to like, day 2, day 3 picks now, but Kyle Williams was a guy that you've been on all off season. And you think that he is potentially, I think you have him in your top 5 wide receivers for this class. Is that true?
I didn't, but no, I didn't. I got on him like late for me, like late for in my eyes, it's late, but I was before anyone else. So I've kind of built my brand off of Kyle Williams. Realistically, he's my most drafted wide receiver in the big board. Almost 30% of Kyle Williams. In my process, I was super late on Kyle Williams, but I was way before anyone else on Kyle Williams. That's for sure. So now he's up to like the 14th round. 16th round Kyle Williams, man, that's a deal. He's up to like the 14th round. I see him going the 13th round sometimes. And I think, we did, I don't remember what it was, but it was on the Fantasy Dog Pound stream. There was the 4 of us on there. We're shooting the shit, chatting. And I said, man, Kyle Williams is going to get drafted before Luther Burden. And I got kind of chuckled at, ha, ha, ha. And then literally like 12 hours later, Matt Harmon puts out a tweet. Oh, we could see Kyle Williams go before Luther Burden. Like, yeah, Pat, he must watch your stream. I don't know, because I think he honestly will. Honestly, if you're asking me, and this is not just like, you can't even call it like I'm a homer. I appreciate the talent. I would be drafting Kyle Williams before Luther Burden. I really, really would. And I think NFL teams probably agree, and it just might happen. We'll see if he ends up at the Tennessee Titans with Cam Ward. But either way, I think he's going to be an early day 2, early second round pick. And honestly, he's a deal in the 14th round, I think, ADP wise.
I think so too. I wish I had a little bit more. We'll have to check my exposures. We can use the best ball overlay once we get into this draft to see where I'm at on Kyle Williams. I have no idea, honestly. I feel like I have not been drafting him quite as much as I should. And I don't even know why. Maybe it's that range. It's more of a kind of getting some late tight ends, maybe still going for some of the running backs. But yeah, I think, getting that day 2 draft capital, and then it could pay off. And then the whole thing you said about Burden, he's been consistently a controversial pick and player in the wide receiver group, in this draft. So it could go anywhere. Who knows? And
so like with Hartman's comment right there, like that's a big thing with this draft for me. Like I said it in my mock draft, I'll say it again right now. Like the biggest thing the teams are going to be looking at in this draft, because the talent is so linear, it's so flat. There's not a lot of blue chip, blue blood players in this draft. So they're not going to take chances on these guys with issues like Luther Burden quitting on Missouri Tigers, like James Pierce Jr. Hartman, as a Lions fan, you don't want James Pierce Jr. on your team. I would be absolutely floored, blown away, shocked if Dan Campbell drafted James Pierce Jr. Like the talk around him is that he's uncoachable, like little incentive for the coaches to put him on field. I can read you the quotes if you want. It's really not a good situation for James Pierce Jr. I do not have him obviously going in the first round. I would be pretty surprised with everything that came out around James Pierce if he goes in the first round. And Mike Green, same thing. Multiple sexual assault, accusations. Who knows if they're true or not? Nobody knows. The only people that know are Mike Green and whoever was accusing him. Those are the only people that know the whole truth and nothing but the truth in those types of situations.
It's tough.
So is a team going to want to take a chance on a guy like that when it's so flat? You got a guy like, Donovan Ezeraku, who led the ACC in sacks, 16 and a half sacks. I would rather go with a guy like that. You got JT I don't know his last name, Ohio State, 15 sacks last year. I'd rather take a guy like that than a Mike Green or a James Pierce personally. So and that's what I think NFL teams will do. I don't think it makes sense to take these guys with question marks when you have a same or better potentially talent. It just doesn't make a lot of sense for me. So yeah, I really would be shocked if Mike Green or James Pierce went to especially the Lions. That's for sure. That's why I have him taking Gray Zabel, right? Guy will do anything. You tell me what to do, coach, and I'll do it. So
interesting. A lot of ball knowers in the chat. And it's always fun, honing in on like what does your team's need and then trying to figure out how that works out. So, one of the most fun things about the first round of the draft is just like which player is going to be available when your team's on the clock, and then do they get it right or do they, completely blow it? I've seen both sides of it over the years as a Texans fan myself, where it's like, what are they doing? Or the other side of it's like, they just turned around the franchise, what they did in 2023 with the Stroud and the Will Anderson picks. Even without seeing them become the offensive and defensive rookies of the year, I just knew when those draft picks came through, I was like, this is a new day.
Yeah. The other thing is like, don't try to put fit a square peg in a round hole. Like a guy like Donovan Ezeraku just doesn't necessarily fit what the Lions want to do at the defensive end. He's not built like a defensive end. He's more of an outside linebacker, edge rusher. So I think that would be square peg, round hole, where, yeah, it might work out a little bit, but realistically, you need a proper defensive end to be alongside, 6'6", 270 Aiden Hutchinson, right?
Yeah.
Another big body, defensive end. That's what the Lions need. That's what they're doing. It's a lot like the Saints. The Saints have big body defensive ends. That's why their defense is going to be in absolute shambles for the next 3 years, realistically, until they can turn that thing over and make it make sense, because they're going from big body defensive ends 4-3 to a 3-4 with athletic outside linebackers. It's just going to be a mess in New Orleans for a few years. So good luck to any Saints fans out there.
Tyler Lockett is a Titan. Trav, is that breaking news?
Yeah, it looks like it did happen. Interesting.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
doesn't move the needle much for me.
Obviously needed wide receiver depth. I'm a fan of Tyler Lockett as a person. I think at this point in his career, I don't know how fantasy relevant he's going to be, but there's worse picks, I guess, you could make if you're stacking up Cam Ward these days.
Yeah, I'm not doesn't really move too much of a needle for me.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, it's just a year or two too late. Very cool. Well, this has been great going through your mock, talking it up, going through some of these picks, and understanding kind of the fantasy impact and things. Are there any other picks or players we haven't touched on that you want to talk about before we flip it over to our next segment?
No, I mean, I'm good. Whatever works. Like Tat McMillan, I think to the Panthers would be fun. I think that makes a lot of sense. And then Colston Loveland to the Chargers would be good. I think those make a lot of sense. And Emeka Ibuka to the Rams. I'd be happy to see that. I think that makes a lot of sense for what they want to do and where they're going. So those would all be pretty fantasy friendly landing spots. And they all make a lot of sense. So those would be the other ones that I want to just shout out. And if it does come to fruition, those would definitely be solid landing spots and be perfectly fine for their ADPs and potentially move them up the board a little bit.
100%. Yeah, those are some fun landing spots. The Egbuka pick to the Rams, for his year one, and who knows? Because I guess they have the capacity and they're throwing the ball enough that it wouldn't be crazy to see, 3 fantasy relevant wide receivers. It's what the Bucks have done, even last season, where you've got guys, and of course Chris Godwin went out injured, but Devontae Adams is just, obviously he's in kind of the twilight period of his career. With superstar players, sometimes they can extend, past the age cliff, and maybe he's an exception, right? He's been a good wide receiver all the way from Fresno State in college all the way through the NFL. He's never been he's always been good. It took him a little while with the Packers to get up to speed and to be dominant, but ever since he really hit his first 1,000-yard season, he never looked back. So, but in the scheme of things, like Egbuka going there and giving them more wide receiver depth, when Puka has been missing games, throughout his career in college and the NFL, I think it makes a ton of sense and would be really nice. Another question is just how much longer does Stafford play? And we already saw a little bit of drama play out, that they kind of quelled those flames early on, but I think it's nearing. Every year we look back at the quarterbacks who turn to kind of dust, and I think we're on the edge of Russell Wilson being completely gone, Kirk Cousins leaving sooner than later, Aaron Rodgers could be completely gone. There's just another, not a generation, but another couple draft classes of who have been starting quarterbacks for so long about to just end their starting careers. And so someone's going to take the place. I think Stafford's almost in that group as well. A little bit younger, but he's had a lot of injuries.
Yeah, we'll have to pour one out for some of these. He's year to year now. They've said publicly it's year to year with Matt Stafford, and that's perfectly fine. I think like it's better to kind of have that agreement with the quarterback instead of being these like Russell Wilson, not even Russell Wilson, these Aaron Rodgers types of situations where he's kind of holding you hostage. You're not really sure what's going on. Like Stafford just wanted to be compensated properly, which is, of course he does, and he deserves it. So yeah, compensate him properly if he is your starting quarterback. And as long as he's healthy and he's playing, he's better than most other. He's a top 10 quarterback in real life, IRL football. He's a top 10 quarterback, no question. But again, it's health and age is starting to creep up, and Father Time waits for no one. So we'll see. But
100%. One thing we can look at, and y'all in the chat might be interested to see this as well, is that Daniel Jeremiah just dropped his final mock draft. It came out 2 hours ago now, 2.5 hours ago, on NFL Network. And I think he's probably considered among maybe the top 5 professional mock draft analysts. And he should have a good amount of ins with some of these teams being a part of the NFL Network, and just kind of that whole network in itself of what goes around the NFL and the NFL media. So when he makes some of these picks, I think it's interesting to see just 24 hours before or less kind of what direction teams might be looking positionally, or are they taking advantage of the best available pick? And so I thought it'd be cool for Cody and I just to kind of quickly run through this one. We can kind of compare contrast to Cody's round 1 mock, and then any other major glaring differences or things we want to understand from where Daniel Jeremiah has been, from this mock compared to maybe other consensus mocks, or even his previous mock that I think was been out for like a month now.
Yeah, I mean, this is his 4th, I believe.
Yeah.
because mock draft 4.0. So to be honest, like I like Daniel Jeremiah. I don't particularly take his mock drafts to heart. Like he does so many. Number one, number two, it's like sometimes there's zero connection between the team and the player, where it's like, why in the world would that happen? Like even Mason Graham right here to the Panthers. I don't really see much connection there. Donovan Ezaraku to the Bengals. I don't see that being like, I think the Bengals would take JT Tua Maloa, local kid from Ohio State. I actually gave it some thought of taking him there for the Bengals. I do like seeing Jackson Dart to the Giants. And where's the other one? There's another nice one I had the same as him.
Was it
Smart Stewart to the Colts. I think that makes a lot of sense. We know that Ballard loves his freak athletes, and that's exactly what you're getting out of Stewart. So that makes a lot of sense. I think I had Trey Amos the same as him, but I don't know. I like this, but I don't know. We'll see. I think there's a lot of like when you see mock, like I'm excited to see Peter Schrager's mock draft. He does a really good job.
Is he usually announced the day of? Is that been out? Is that one out yet?
I think it came out today, actually. I think it is out. I haven't had a chance to look at it yet, but
that's another
guy
good one
that I like to look at. Anyone that does one, like Mike Mayock back in the day, like Peter Schrager seems like he's the new Mike Mayock kind of a thing. It seems like that's the route that he's going away from, Good Morning Football, and now he's kind of an insider guy. That's where Peter Schrager seems to be going. So I do appreciate his mock draft, and I do want to look into that. I mean, DJ is like where I use DJ's information is like, what is he saying? And what is his top 50? Like, that's what we need to pay attention to when we're talking about Jeremiah. I don't really love his mock drafts, if I'm being honest. He kind of just does things sometimes, and there's no real rhyme or reason. But what are your thoughts on this? I mean, there's some good picks here. There's a lot of it makes sense. It could be very correct, but I also think he knows too much, that like he doesn't want to give things away because you can ruin relationships that way. So I think he might fall victim of just knowing too much when it comes to these teams, these scouts, these GMs, things like that. So I think he withholds a little bit.
But I think a lot of what you said, could be true, and definitely got to take his mock, with a grain of salt. Things that I think are interesting is when you start to see kind of consensus around the range that players will go. Here we see Kelvin Banks goes a top 6 player. That's pretty high, but this is starting to solidify that he's going to be taken in the first third, or at least the first half in most situations, or could. Like I said, Tyler Warren is almost certainly a top 10 player in this draft. It just seems like he's not going to slip past those teams. And then we've seen Egbuka consistently going in the first round in a number of mocks. I think that seems to be spot on. The Jackson Dart going to the Giants, you nailed that one. He seems locked in to be a first round pick. Where was in this one? I looked at it before. Where is Shador in this one? Is he in this?
Yeah, 21 to the
Steelers.
I just don't think that's happening. I really don't think he's the Steelers pick. I would be pretty surprised. I would be pretty surprised personally if they go with Shador Sanders. But the one that sticks out to me the most, honestly, is Jalen Walker. I really do not think he makes it to 15. That's for sure.
Oh, I just noticed that. There's no way.
Yeah. Like he's a top 5 player on Daniel Jeremiah's, top 50. He's a top 5 player. I would be shocked. There's no chance in the world, even if Mason Graham's there's no chance in the world he makes it past the Panthers. There's just no way. So I don't even think he gets that far in my mock draft. So I think honestly anyone in the top 5 could pick Jalen Walker with how much these teams love that kid and all the different things that he can do. He can be, that Micah Parsons light, Micah Parsons-ish sort of a player. I would be shocked if he made it to 15. Very, very surprised, especially because everybody loves him. He's nailing the interviews. That would be a huge shock for me. But, we'll see. I've been wrong before. I could be wrong again.
Sure.
But yeah, it's definitely an interesting year. And it's again, like it's a get your guys kind of a draft. Like, get your guys, trade up if you need to. If there's only, a finite amount of blue chip players and one of them happens to potentially fall, let's say it's Amari and Hampton.
Yep.
Like, trade up to get them if you need to, or you can trade up to get them, sort of thing. So, yeah, we'll see. But I don't know. This is a quality draft, that's for sure. Like, it's Daniel Jeremiah, but I would be pretty surprised with some of these picks, that's for sure.
I agree. I think after talking through a lot of the picks of your mock and then flipping to this one, some of these picks are a little bit shocking, and maybe that's what he's going for. I think some of them also are just more like the Travion Henderson to the Chargers. Would that get a lot of excitement for people to see that? Yeah, but do I think that's going to happen? I honestly don't know. And then there's the whole, I mean, how many Michigan players are going to go in the first round? The odds, like, I think you had Loveland going to the Chargers, right?
Yep.
It's like, I don't know. There's positionally, I think some of the teams and the picks here are a little bit off. Other ones I think are a little bit better, but yeah,
well, just when he does so many mock drafts, like, you have to do something different every time. So
true.
Then it leads to God knows what actually happening, right? So I don't know. Like, again, it's like, in this scenario, when you're doing 4 mock drafts and making them all public, it's like, in this scenario, in that scenario, if this happens, if you know what I mean, and it's just trying to be different every time, because you can't just have the same mock draft every time, obviously. That's why I kind of take his mocks with a bit of a grain of salt, and I like the guys that do one, like a Peter Schrager, where he's putting everything into one mock draft, and then that's what he thinks is going to happen. And he does have good connections, that's for sure. Not that DJ doesn't. What I'm saying more about DJ, like I said earlier, is he might have too much information. Right. And he can't put out some of that stuff because it could ruin relationships. So, yeah. But I like the Dart trade back for Dart. I like that.
Yeah. I think that'll be interesting to see if that comes together. But all right, I think without further ado, and that was really fun talking to you. That was fun again. I really enjoyed your stream and your first round review. Everyone in the chat, make sure you're subbed to the channel here. Make sure you're subbed to Cody's channel, Off the Schneid. And we're about to set up for a best ball draft. I'm going to ask the chat, all of y'all in here, y'all can really pick, I think, what we want to draft. I've got some big boards left. Do we want to draft a big board? Do we want to draft a little board too? I think most of you are maybe leaning little board too. If you want to draft with us on stream, maybe that's where you want to vote. But I'll give y'all a couple minutes, maybe a minute or two as I get set up for this big board or whatever this best ball draft, and you guys can tilt the scale if you want to draft along. So let me just throw on a little bit of how we do things here with some of this. All right. If I get like 3 or 4 of y'all in consensus on a little board too, or a big board, we'll jump right into it. And let me know if the music's too loud for y'all as well. I think I got it honed in, but still working out some of the little details that we got going on in the stream. And then let me set up my overlay. Boom. Think we're getting good. Oh yeah, that looks good. Get rid of the logo. Nice. Okay. I got a little board. Steve wants to max this thing out. I know he's been drafting like a fiend. Apparently Cody has too. He said you've got, how many little boards have you done?
I'm 25. I'm halfway through. I got to max this thing by tomorrow, so.
Dang. Let me turn that down just a little bit. And then, okay, so that's 1, 2, 3 little boards. Oh, loud on speakers? Okay, good. Okay. Yeah, I caught that. Turn it down just a little bit. I'll turn it down a little bit more. Okay, good to know. Good to know. I don't know what it is. I think sometimes it's different. Let me get it real low for y'all. Oh, you know what it was? I actually messed with some audio settings before the stream. So yeah, apologize.
Malfunctions.
Technical difficulties. Let's go ahead and get into a little board. I did 2 little boards at the airport yesterday. As I was coming back into town, I was watching. I think it was PPR Tyler, and I think Eric was actually on the channel with him too. I forget who exactly was live, but I had 2 hours into my flight, and so I did 2 little boards. I hated pretty much both of them. So I don't know. The tournament, I'm not super excited about the little board. I get that there's overlay, but the 15K up top for 56,000 people to me is not the most attractive. I'll be honest. And but I'm excited to do one just to do it. And because I think more importantly, the ADP and the number of teams that people have gotten in is completely different than the big board. If we draft one more big board tonight, what's the odds that someone's already drafted the winner? What's the odds that my team can't compete with the team from March? Who knows? But if we do little boards, it's free reign, right?
It's time box.
Exactly.
The ADPs are pretty much locked. It's time boxed. Yeah. Yeah, I agree though. It's a little not a big fan of the 15K only up top. It's all right. It's my favorite structure. The early drafting is where I do the best, so I'm gonna max it kind of regardless.
Nice. Good.
Well, maybe not. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get the drafts in. I got I don't know, tomorrow before the draft. I don't have a lot of time to do 25 drafts. We'll see if I can get a few ripped tonight, but man, it's gonna be tough.
This is not a good sign. I'm getting the woof error that I've had. Some of the boys who have been drafting with me so far this summer have known this is an issue. I've contacted Underdog support on this.
Oh no.
I'm going to jump into the little board on my phone, and then what I'll do is if I can't get it to work on Google Chrome, I'll throw it up in Firefox and we'll get it on the stream. But if y'all are in that room, I'm entering it on my phone now. There's 6 more to start, 5 more. Apologize if you already jumped in and it didn't work out. Technical difficulties. That sucks because then we can't use best ball overlay on Firefox. But 3 more to start in the little board. If you're in that room, it's 3 more to start. Now it's 4 more to start. Apologize for the fake out, but I had loaded up Chrome earlier and it didn't have this issue. Sometimes I've been encountering this over the summer. When I refresh my Chrome browser and I have the stream up, I get the woof error. I get the location error.
I get the location sometimes. It's weird. Comes and goes.
Let me see if I can. So I got in on my phone. Let me see if it's working now. It's working. Let me throw it back on the stream. Maybe that's a little workaround. I entered from my phone and then didn't have to go through the enter a draft screen. So I talked to Underdog, and it's not unique to me. It's something that other people have an issue with as well, but it is rarer, and I haven't seen anyone else streaming have this issue. So I don't know. At the end of the day, I've tried everything, restarting my computer, obviously, clearing history, clearing cache, like whatever I can think, all the basic IT tech stuff. They gave some advice on what to do. I thought I maybe had fixed it a week or 2 ago, and then
honestly, the support on Underdog is not great. It's not.
Yeah.
Awesome. It's really not. But I know other people have had that issue. Like BBG had that issue. I've had that issue even on stream, not in quite a while, but I have had that issue. So yeah, it's whatever. It is what it is.
I hate to be a complainer, but it's like I don't know what else to do. Maybe it is my setup and something that I'm doing wrong, but I don't feel like I'm doing anything that different. And so Steve's in 3 right now. He's an animal out here multi-tabling. I know a bunch of y'all are multi-tabling the little board. I know Eric was multi-tabling on his stream earlier. Before I was getting set up for this stream, I was doing some cleanup in the kitchen, had BBG on, and I think he was in 3 little boards at once. So nothing too crazy. That's
Before
enough,
the
right?
stream, I was in 5 at once.
5. Yeah, that's
Trying to I had 2 screens. I had 2 tabs on each screen kind of going. It was it's just trying to get it maxed. So do what you got to do. I wish again if it was like a 20 max, like
yeah.
20 something thousand, like basically half of what it is. 20 max, 25,000, whatever, and then it would be a lot easier to max enter. It is what it is.
Yeah, I agree. I wish it would have been 20 max at most. Then I would feel more compelled to actually max it.
Yeah.
So we're on the clock. You've done a few of the little boards. These exposures that I'm showing are mostly my big boards and the higher stakes ones. Are you feeling like a CD, or do you want to get different?
I'm CD every
Yeah.
time. I always want to be top 5, or sorry, top 6. I always want to be top 6 because you're getting one of those 6, and I don't really care. It'll even out. My exposures will even out, but you're getting one of those 6 players when you're top 6. Just make it easy. There's no real choice to make. Whoever's there, that's why I don't mind being 6th, literally, because then you just take whoever's left. And then you get value from both ends of the draft when there's falling ADP. So I don't mind being 6th at all. I know a lot of people don't like being in the middle of the draft board, but I don't mind it personally.
Yeah, just catching up with the chat. Everyone's multi-tabling and enjoying it, and also hating on underdog, complaining about the stuff. Shout out to, I know we've got Hartman in here in the 3 spot. He's been jumping into a lot of these late night drafts. Always fun to see what team he pulls together. I think I saw Sus Edwards in here saying what up earlier, so appreciate you for being here. Looks like you're in this draft. Obviously got Steve. He is going to be filling this up. He's multi-tabling, so got him in the 7th spot right next to us. And then we got Travioli. Give me the Formuloni in the 10 spot. Little SpongeBob quote there. And New Collector. I don't know if you're in the chat, New Collector. I know I've seen you in a bunch of drafts before.
I don't know. Who is that? Is that someone who's in streams usually? I've seen him. I've drafted with him a lot. I've seen him a lot. I don't
New
know
Collector.
who that is.
I honestly don't know his YouTube name, but I do, and maybe it's New Collector. I think that could be true. I see him in drafts though. Just a name that I recognize.
Yeah, definitely. 1 badge, 2 badgeless, 3, 4 badgeless. Ooh, could get spicy.
That's a fun question. Yeah, let's see. Obviously, we got Putt Daddy in the chat. He's been a G the whole time. I know he's been a. I think I first met Putt Daddy actually in your chat on your stream.
Yeah, he's the OG. He's the OG of OTS. So yeah,
definitely. I remember we were talking about
Daddy.
We were talking about golf. I don't know if it was a couple months ago or right before I got my streams up and going again. Okay, I'm pretty in on AJ Brown at this price. What do you think?
I'm actually kind of out on AJ Brown in the 2nd round.
Do you want to go Trey McBride?
Yeah, I like Trey. I like Trey here. I just think the passing volumes, like it went down last year, and I don't particularly see that changing.
Yeah,
this year, like he's gone down, overall points for the last 3 years with Saquon Barkley coming in.
That's true.
I just have a hard time clicking AJ Brown the 2nd. I really do. Yeah,
makes sense. I think back to what's like a combination, and it's usually around 2 wide receivers in the first 3 rounds when I think of this kind of strategy. Like, what's a combination that you would have loved to have had last year? Well, CeeDee Lamb was he was the 1st overall pick, if not the 2nd. And then AJ Brown was going on the other side of the board, usually at the 1-2 turn, right? So like an AJ Brown, CeeDee Lamb would have been impossible to get last year, and you would have thought that would have been a good start. This season, like I think what you said though is smart, and kind of you've walked me back off the pick. Is that with Saquon there, it's a different dynamic, and that's what it takes to really, project out the next year. It's like, did something significantly change? Is that going to change again going forward, or is it going to be status quo? I think Barkley is more of the status quo for them now of being their motor, right? So
yeah, it's a run first offense. Like it kind of always wanted to be. It just didn't have the pieces to be. So now that it does, it can function the way it needs to, and they just won a Super Bowl off that formula. So yeah, I think it continues into the season, that's for sure. But you never know if there's an injury to Barkley. Obviously, things could change, but we don't want to project for injury. So
True. No, yeah, I was out on Barkley last season. I drafted him in one Best Ball Mania, maybe two. I think it was one though, and I felt like an idiot. Obviously, he wasn't on the
well,
winning
that
team.
the comment that you have pulled up is why everyone was fading Barkley and Henry, because all the best ball bros in the streams outside of me, I had like 20% of both those guys personally. So yeah, it's just it's hilarious stuff.
Yeah, Putt Daddy, shout out to you for always being in here, being a G. This is our first draft. We did a good coverage on the first round mock draft that Cody put together. Had a lot of fun talking about that in the first part of the stream. So
I don't mind going Terry with the CD
yeah,
correlation.
I like that. I like that pick. The more I think about it, because it's also kind of I would say there's a 30 to 45% chance, kind of less than half, less than 50-50 that Daniels comes back around. But if he does, I would love to get Daniels and Terry with CeeDee Lamb for that kind of divisional correlation.
Yeah, it's a smash spot if he's there, which again, yeah, he is sometimes.
It took, and Who Hames and I were kind of on this similar wavelength. It was probably 3 straight weeks of doing drafts every single night, sometimes, more than one during the big board, where I could not get a Terry and Daniel stack. And then I'd turn on anyone's stream and they would hit it, or somebody in their draft would hit it with like Terry at the 1-2 turn, and then Daniels goes all the way to like pick 46 or 48 or something. And I was just like, how is that happening? In my drafts, Daniels consistently going at like pick 35 or 38. I just like couldn't pull it off. And I think I'd have to look at my best ball overlay, and I'm a little bit afraid to refresh for the combo tool to see how many times I've pulled it off so far. I think I've got 3 of them, if not more.
Yeah, I definitely have a few. The best way to get it is if it's a falling McLaurin. That's the way to kind of typically get it. But then you probably can't be pairing him with CeeDee Lamb unless you got him at like pick 8 for whatever reason. So yeah, if you want it, just do it in the second round, third round. If you want to make sure you get some exposure to it, that's the way to do it. But I
did see that a couple of nights ago. Someone took McLaurin and then Daniels at the 2-3 with Jamar Chase.
Yeah, that's a good way to get different and unique. I mean, honestly, I don't think it makes tons of sense to do that when it's like AFC, NFC. Like I know Who Hames in the chat, he was doing like Jamar Chase, and I've even done it a few times too, where I'd go Jamar Chase, bring it back with T Higgins, and then pull up Lamar Jackson, where it's AFC North versus AFC North. And then, at pick 48, 49, if you're on, at pick 1, then you can go Joe Burrow and Zay Flowers typically. And we were never going to get it. We were never going to get it, but I don't know if that's the spot that I thought it would go to. I thought Miranda writes, maybe Steve would take him, but
it would have been nice because it takes the pressure off having to get Dak, and we can push Dak a little bit. He's sometimes a faller. Now we really want Dak on this team.
Potentially. We'll see how it goes. I don't mind Rome.
I think Rome over these other two just for now, kind of based on what we were going off of earlier with, or it could be Jameson. Do you think Jameson?
No, I'm pretty high on Rome Odunze personally.
Yeah.
I was really high on him as a rookie. And coming into his second season, I'm super high with what they have going on there. I bet the Bears to win that division.
Nice. Yeah. I wish I had more Bears for how much I have also kind of been in that similar like mindset that, the Bears are going to be on the come up and Caleb Williams is going to take a big step forward. He's going to have way more touchdowns this year. Potentially he could. They're going to have some good draft capital this year. So turning this team around and doing a lot more on offense, I'm pretty sure about that happening. And I think I must be my DJ Moore exposure where I'm carrying my Bears. I know it's my Swift exposure. The chat has been relentless in giving me shit all spring long about taking Swift, who I'm looking for Bears. So I've got a little bit of DJ. I need more Rome. I got a decent amount of Caleb, but then my Swift is like off the charts, right?
Down. The Swift is coming down.
Yeah, it's coming down. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but yeah, every time I draft Swift, it's like the typical suspects in the chat are just like, "Oh, the worst pick. You ruined this team." For a while there, I was drafting my streams. Yeah,
you could still have value. Like if they bring in
know.
like a Judkins, then he's in good shape, and I think that that's someone they could definitely target. So he's still going to have some value. I mean, it's possible they could legitimately draft 2 running backs that completely replace Swift, but he's going to be on this team. The contract dictates he will be on this team. So if he's on the team, he's going to be on the field. If he's on the field, he's scoring you fantasy points. So yeah. Do you guys think elite QB and elite tight end is more viable in these big advanced rate? Those are advanced moves. Like look at hit him with the gritty, right? We all know his strategy. Some of us love it, some of us don't love it, right? Like we know his strategy. He drafts elite tight end and elite quarterback heavily, right? He also advanced 81 out of 150 teams in the big board last year, right? How many did he make to the finals?
I knew he had a lot.
0. Yeah, he advanced massive because it's a huge edge to advance. So, I mean, I don't think it's viable. Like it's viable for advance rate, but again, like that conversation, that example right there in a vacuum, we've seen it with Gritty's portfolio. He'll advance a ton of teams, but literally 0 teams in the final. I advanced, I think 40 something, 42, something like that, 47, somewhere around there. Last year in the big board, I had 2 teams in the final, and I very, very easily could have had 4. If CeeDee Lamb came back out in the second half of that game, I could have had 4 teams in the big board final. But I obviously advanced quite a bit lower rate than him. It would be, if we're going running back, it would be Trevion, no question.
I think we can. And then also shout out to Mike. Oh, excuse me. Shout out to him with the gritty. I think he stopped in earlier. He might still be in here listening. He stopped in earlier to say what up. I love it when
I want to see Gritty. Mind you, what's his name? That dude that was on Pete's show won with that strategy. And yeah, I honestly like that is so that's awful for the
there's Mike.
That's awful for the there he is. That's awful for the community. Like we needed Gritty to win that tournament, not that dude.
I'm pulling for Gritty. I'm pulling for Gritty too. Strong takes.
I wanted to see it win, or I've been saying like we need to see this strategy win, and then I saw that it did last year. I didn't know that strategy had won last year when I was saying that, and yeah, I'm sad like it was that dude and not Gritty. We needed, as a community, we needed that to be hit him with the Gritty winning that contest. But
get out of here, Hartman.
That's all right.
I'm so much catching up. It's Cody and I we've been just chatting it up, but you guys in the literal chat have been popping off too. So appreciate y'all all for being here. Make sure you're subbed to the channel and throw me a like, and more drafts to come all summer long. Which just reminds me, we just hit on the channel 100 sub goal. Shout out to y'all for making it happen. Appreciate that. And so I said when I hit 100, I'm going to do a 4-hour, not quite 12-hour, but a 4-hour, it's about as much as I can handle right now, mega draft kind of stream. It's going to be opening night of Best Ball Mania. As long as that works for my schedule, that's what I'm going to tee it up as. And I'm hoping to do like 5 or 6 or as many as possible Best Ball Manias in a row on stream that night with you all. So be on the lookout for that. And yeah, more to come as we get into Best Ball Summer. So shout out to you guys. Appreciate it.
No doubt. Yeah, true, Who Hames. It didn't, I don't know, whatever. It just broke my heart that dude won 200K on a similar strategy, and he didn't even know who Gritty was, which is like, I don't know. Everybody knows that's the hit him with the Gritty like strat. Yeah. And yeah, it doesn't work. If we're being honest with ourselves, like that guy just luck boxed his way into that somehow, which is wild on a 5 wide receiver like build. That's just absolute madness. And that's not the chaos we needed as a community. We needed the chaos of Gritty winning as a community. At least, like, he's good for the game. Oh, you're in that, Steve? You're in that tournament with Ray? You were chasing him, and his dog was chasing him.
Yeah, Steve, was that one of the tournaments that you had done really well in? I know you finaled a couple. I can't keep track of everyone's finishes from last year. It was not a great year for myself. I only min cashed my finals teams, so bummer. But yeah, so it was kind of a down year. Yeah, but we'll get back on it. Yeah,
it's
where do we want to go with this one?
I'm looking at Travis Hunter.
Ooh, especially in this one where there's not going to be any Travis Hunter past ADP 75, 80.
No, he's rising still. So
yeah, let's grab him.
Yeah, I'm all right with pulling up Hunter here.
And we have a pick. I mean, this next pick, 78, it's going to be about, of all of the players we just looked at, it's going to be 2 or 3 of them are still there.
Yeah, and what I always like about taking a quarterback or a tight end early is it frees you up to do some other things. So, yeah, having McBride there, it really opens doors. It always opens doors. So,
100%. When everyone else has to grab a tight end to worry about, the QB pocket, we're going to be set up with what we've got. We can look ahead. I mean, and feeling pretty good about Travis Hunter's landing spot with the Browns. Although it's like, does that mean we go Sanders late as kind of a throw in, a QB3, considering we didn't get an elite QB, we're probably leaning towards QB, 3 QB build. But the whole tight end piece, like we've already solved that part of the puzzle. So the wide receivers to me, and this is assuming Travis Hunter hits and is worth it, is looking pretty good. We'll see the value that can fall at running back, and then we got to nail these stacked for the QB. So that's the next part of the puzzle.
Yeah, we're open to stopping at 2 tight ends potentially. When you have McBride, the door is open. Not that we necessarily, have to try to make that happen, but if it does, wonderful. If we end up taking 3, 2, we can wait until the very end of the draft and take 2 late tight ends to kind of make it work. And then that also works with some backstacking options. If we do end up, obviously we probably will have to take 3 quarterbacks, but there's backstack options with some of those, later quarterbacks with tight end sort of situation. That's some stuff that I like to do. And again, it's just wide open when you have that elite tight end on your roster.
Yep.
Yeah, no. Wow. If Gritty's saying the tight ends are too expensive, then damn. I thought I was the only one off of Bowers. That's less ownership than me on Bowers, Gritty.
I've got a good amount of Bowers and McBride. I think I talked about this on my stream on Monday night where I was saying for at least the beginning of Best Ball Mania, like as it opens, I kind of want half of my teams to have one of Bowers, McBride, or Kittle, and then the other half are going to be mostly 3 tight end builds with late, and then I'm going to skip out on those middle tight ends for a month or 2 and just kind of do that where it's like I've either solved tight end early or I'm doing a late tight end strategy, and then I'm going to hammer rookie and sophomore running backs and receivers, and then the QBs 2 in the QB pocket in the middle. But I'm going to try to hammer running backs and wide receivers that I think can really rise up the board in those middle rounds that go from being a 14 round pick or a 12 round pick to being like a round 9 pick later during the tournament, is how I'm thinking about that. But we'll see.
You can go Homer if you want.
Look how much exposure I've got there. What else would make sense in this build, though? We've only got one running back. We're kind of doing that hero build at this point.
Like, it would be like Tyrone Tracy, if anything, but I
don't
mean,
ever click him is the thing. I mean, I
no,
got
I'm
him.
fine. I'm fine with not. I'm just saying, like, there's nothing else that really fits here. So it's just pick your poison, take whoever you prefer. Like, as far as the build with the NFC, East that we have going on, that's the only thing with Tyrone Tracy. But I'm fine with not clicking them as well.
That's true.
So really, like this is a very weird. Like, this is a spot where you can pull guys up if you have a preference. Like, you could reach a full round sort of thing. It's an odd pocket in the draft where there's a ton of uncertainty. Like, rookies, George Pickens is in there, Stephon Diggs with the injury, right? Myers, is he still 1,000-yard receiver? Like, all that kind of stuff. It's a weird pocket of the draft, so kind of do whatever you want, really, and
I
even
I
note exposures.
I half expected. I don't know why, because it's well past ADP, but I half expected one of these running backs to make it to this pick. I don't hate going Matthew Golden there. I'm really overexposed to Matthew Golden, but I mean, just keep leaning into it. Why not? And like I said earlier, I believe in him. He's going to get the draft capital as it seems, and so could be a good landing spot. The other thing is, I think with the running backs we skipped on, I can name a few, but there's 2 or 3 running backs I actually like more ahead of a bunch of those guys. And so around pick 91 is not a bad spot to get running back either.
Yeah, I mean, you can always catch up. Like, we can always catch up. We're in a good spot at wide receiver, that's for sure. So, and again, the tight end situation, we're in a good spot. So we can do things a little bit differently. Um, we have that luxury. So we'll see who's there.
Nice. A-Rod looks like he's watching the game. Trav's a Rockets fan, Houston guy as well. I just peeked at the score, looking good. I'll catch the highlights. I'm a little bit afraid of the Warriors. It's just a bad historical matchup for the Rockets. And then the only time I could possibly go live tonight is going to be late. I knew it wasn't going to work out well with the Rockets schedule, but it's game 2. I'll catch up. I'll catch up on the highlights. So I'm not sweating it. But
There
yeah.
you go. Yeah, I think it will overlay like 2%, maybe.
I think so. I think
Something like
1 to 1.5, maybe 2% at the most, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of freaky stuff going on as well with these. It always kind of happens with these $3 drafts. You see some freaky stuff and some badgeless stuff, and just you see it in the $3 drafts all the time. I don't really understand why, but
just lighting money on fire and pissing people off, wasting time. It's really annoying.
Yeah, you don't know if it's like new users that think that they can just like cheat the system. Like, they think they're the first ones that ever thought of it. I don't know. But like, sometimes I'm like, man, make them keep the team.
Oh, son of a.
That's a little did he have DJ Moore or anything? That doesn't
I
make a
don't
lot
think
of
so.
sense.
That one
Okay.
hurts. Yeah.
We'll be all right. It just doesn't make a lot of sense to go that route, but that's
That
all
would have been
right.
the nice out to not have to rely on Dak. I'm looking for a reason not to make Dak our QB1. It's Kyler. We got to take Kyler here, isn't it? With Trey
Yeah, I mean,
McBride?
with McBride, yeah, definitely
He's
Kyler.
literally my most drafted player. Don't know how it happened. I'm not like a super fan of Kyler or anything. I guess I just look at him as still being a QB that has rushing upside, and he goes way later than most of the other rushing quarterbacks. Although you could say Caleb is definitely mobile, and then you have guys like the younger guys like a Drake May who's mobile as well. Maybe Knicks who go after Kyler, but or no, wait, Knicks goes. Yeah, Knicks. It depends,
Same
right?
range. It's the same
Same
range.
range.
Yeah.
So
I'm drafting a lot more Kyler in this little board too than I was at any other point throughout the draft cycle. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure why. I'm just maybe I think what it is he's not getting taken naked super early anymore.
yeah,
That's the big difference, I think. But the auto drafts are awesome, actually. I love the auto drafts. You can plan around the auto drafters, and they're not typically, taking your stacks and things like that. So There's a lot of auto drafters right now, which is awesome. It's actually wonderful if you're not auto drafting, because yeah, you can definitely take advantage of those auto drafters. So
That is true.
yeah.
I saw on my, I think it was either my Monday night stream, it must have been, or it was one of the ones to end out last week. A bunch of some of the same guys were in the chat tonight. Were in that draft with us, and Ben Sinnott went in the 5th or 6th round to someone who had Jaden Daniels and was doing a star method. We assume because then he
Right.
turned it around and he continued to draft with integrity. But when it happened, we were all like, and it was a big board. We were all like, shit, like we're wasting our time on this one. It's going to get voided, but
I don't think it will.
it
It
won't. I don't think
shouldn't.
it will either. I don't think it
No,
will.
it
Yeah.
shouldn't. Just because someone makes one mistake doesn't mean that, like, I've done it. I've done that. Not quite to that, like, that egregious.
And
But I've
hopefully
taken
not with Ben Sinnott, the worst pick on
no. But
the
I've
board in
definitely
the year
taken
2025.
I've pulled a guy up like 100 picks, like ahead of
Yeah.
ADP at least, by again starring them, and then you just like put your phone down or something stupid, and you end up auto drafting, and it's like, well, shit. I'll try to land the plane, sort of thing. But those drafts haven't been thrown out, nor should they be. Like, make people pay for their mistake, kind of a thing. But the ones that suck are the ones that are like, if they make a mistake like that and then they just keep going,
Yeah.
ridiculous after like the 5th round or something like that. And if that's the case, honestly, I probably say just keep the draft as well. Like, don't throw it out.
I'm just gonna highlight some
I
names.
would. Can I interest you in some Justin Fields?
Oh, I see that I need your input because I don't click him myself naturally, so I'm down for it, especially in this build where we have stud wide receivers. We want to introduce another rushing upside QB. We don't have them stacked and we don't necessarily need to. And we've already missed out on Jaden Daniels. And of course, we got somewhat sniped on Caleb, but it allowed us to get Murray. We can't say for certain who the QBs are going to be with Travis and Golden. And even if we think it's the Browns, is that Shadur? Is that somebody else? And so I think it
Cousins.
really makes a lot of sense here to go Fields and then just not have to worry about the 2 rookie stacking partners and then the fact we missed out on the other ones. So
Yeah, I mean, I like to do those types of situations when I have like a quality wide receiver room. We're gonna have to catch up at running back,
no
but
doubt.
we probably throw some volume at it. We'll see. We'll see if we can end up getting. Oops, if we can end up getting seven running backs.
That's what I was
Then
just going to say. We can just hammer running back with all upside. It's going to be minimum 4 teams advancing in this pod, more likely 5 or 6, right?
potentially probably 5, yeah, with the overlay, depending on how
And
much
and
overlay
so
we
we
get.
don't need a season long scoring floor from the running back position. We just need guys that are going to be active in weeks 15, 16, 17. So I think
Mhm.
it kind of suits this tournament especially well to ignore running back a little bit. It's probably the one position that you can play catch up on versus, I mean, we have the elite tight end, so we're squared away there. It's almost impossible to play catch up at QB and definitely at wide receiver, in my opinion, because of this QB pocket. If you don't leave round 10 with 2 QBs, you're not looking great. You're going to have to hit a home run on a rookie or somebody late that doesn't even have a landing spot yet. Potentially like those free agent QBs, maybe. Um, and then, yeah, the wide receivers late. Some people have the art and the skill to pull it off, but I've always felt that you got to have the target share. You've got to have the guys who can earn the targets and be the wide receiver one in any given week. You're going to need that guy in those playoff weeks to advance.
Yeah, I think people taking the rookies are kind of witch casting right now. I really don't see any of these rookie quarterbacks doing anything close to like a Jane Daniels, even Caleb Williams season last year. I think we're going to see like a Trevor Lawrence rookie year sort of a thing out
Mm-hmm.
of Cam Ward, most
Yeah.
likely. And the rest of them, who knows if we even see them at all. To be honest, we shouldn't. If I was a fan of whatever team drafts any of these quarterbacks outside of Cam Ward, I wouldn't want to see them at all, to be honest. So
Mm-hmm.
we'll see
Ooh,
how that
Jordan
shakes
Mason
out.
would have been nice there.
Mason would have been all right. Herbert's still there. I mean,
Herbert's
wow.
there. We can kind of
Take
backstack him, but
Dak.
I kind of want to leave the door open for Dak.
Yep, that works for me. What do we got for running back outside
So
of
it's
what's
I'm gonna go
listed?
by ADP. It's going to be Pacheco, B. Rob, Swift, who we do have. Obviously, we have Rome,
What about tight ends?
and then we have B. Rob that could go. Njoku, Loveland.
Loveland,
I'll
and
see if
then
I
we
can get
can
it.
stop it too.
Oh, I got it.
Got it. Okay, then we're done at 2. Now
I
we
like
can
that.
be done at 2 there.
I could use a little bit more Loveland somehow.
I'd rather take the tight end than the running backs, but it also plays into what we need to do at running back because now we can stop at 2 tight ends. Now we can get 7 running backs.
No, this is
So
great.
it's not taking a running back, but it gives us the flexibility of being able to take more volume at running back. So
And
I don't mind that.
it gets me on a Colston Loveland, who I'm right at about the field exposure, but I'd like to have a little bit more of him. I was clicking him more, I think, back in March, and then recently I just haven't been able to get him on some teams. So I'm glad that you pushed me in that direction. You've got me on to Fields tonight on Loveland, and otherwise I
Trey,
think these are guys that I like. So I think these are two good picks though in these middle rounds. I'm diversifying a little bit.
you hush in the chat, who Hames.
What is Who Hames up to? This guy's always up to no good. Who Hames?
He might be selling us out a little bit. We'll see. We'll see.
Oh no. I mean, and I'm just kidding. Who Hames? You know that.
Yeah, we've got some doors open. Some doors open for us. And yeah, we don't like, especially in these like 4 of 12. We know it's 4 of 12 at least, but with the overlay, it'll probably be more so. You really don't have to force stacking. You really, really don't.
That's true.
Like one quarter, but like let's say we get Dak and it's Dak and CD with the McLaurin bring back. Perfect. That's really all you need. Let's say it's, I don't know. Who would he go to? Maybe the Rams. Let's say Colson Loveland ends up on the Rams and it's Trey McBride. Mind you, that's tight end, not super likely. But either way, what I'm getting at is like I found more success with not double, triple stacking in the big board. You can focus on that more in Best Ball Mania where we know the schedule.
Later, Fantasy Dog. Thanks for checking out the stream and being here tonight. I think that makes a lot of sense too. And then what's important in this, as you were talking about the structure of it, it's a time box. There's going to be players that are going to rise significantly throughout the summer. There's going to be players that fall significantly because they get replaced on their offense and things. And so it's more important, I think, to avoid those players and be a little bit thoughtful there. And that's where a lot of value can come in. So we could take Dak or we can push him. I think it's probably smartest just to take him.
Yeah, I'm all right with just pulling up Dak here.
Otherwise, I mean, we have McLaurin and we also have a Dunze. We could either hit up either of these for RB2. What do you think?
I think quarterback's the way to go. We need we can shore that up. Now we're done. We're done at quarterback. We're done at tight end. Now we can just throw some volume at running back and round out our wide receiver room, and we're laughing. So
that makes sense. I mean, we've got our core receivers. We're a 3-1-5-2 build, a little bit unorthodox, only getting one running back through. We're in through around 11, but our strategy is going to be going late. We're really leaving a low floor at running back so that we can still advance with good luck and then get to the playoffs and not necessarily need all of that season long scoring that we would have accrued at running back. We've distributed that draft capital to our tight end room, the QBs, and the wide receivers. I was just looking at Fields. It's like, what else can we do with Fields? But I guess it's just he's kind of a standalone. I don't draft a ton of Fields, so it's hard for me to think him through.
Yeah, you don't have to do anything with Fields realistically. Exactly. Like he's just a high upside rushing quarterback. The dude rushed for 1,100, almost 1,200 yards a couple of years ago when he was a starter with the Bears. So that's really all we need out of him. Like you don't have to force anything with Fields. Again, like if we have Dak with CD and McLaurin, perfect. We've got the Cardinal stack, and then let's say Golden goes to an NFC team. Even McLaurin is an option there. There's just tons of options, and it's not it's not necessary to be like, you're not going to be perfect. No one's going to be perfect. Not likely, anyways. You can't plan to be perfect in the big board because we don't know the schedule. So all you can do is put teams together and try to correlate as best you can. But I like to do Jeremy Ruckert sometimes.
Ooh, spicy.
I wouldn't do it here, that's for sure. I probably have like 4% Jeremy Ruckert just in case they take Armand Membu in the first round and they don't take Warren. And Ruckert's a guy. Even if they play a lot of 12 personnel with Ruckert and Warren, he could still pop off here and there. It's a last round dart throw that no one else has.
It's interesting.
Not that it would make sense in this draft, but that's something that I like to do a little bit of.
I
Yeah,
remember
realistically, I just take naked Fields all the time.
Yeah, it makes sense. I remember doing a little bit of dynasty research on Jeremy Ruckert as he was coming into the league a few years ago, and a name I haven't heard a ton since, but I liked what I saw when he was coming into the league at least. And then Conklin now being gone from there is another moving piece, right, on the Chargers. Have you noticed? I wanted to get your opinion. You've done more little boards than I have. Are you seeing quarterbacks go earlier and people kind of reaching for these middle of the board quarterbacks? Is that typical?
That comes with typically like lower dollar value tournaments where we can take any of these running backs, Giddens, Ford, Benson, any of them are good for me. With these lower dollar value tournaments where there's more just drafters in there, there's more badgeless drafters, there's more just casual drafters throwing
Mhm.
$3, whatever, throw $3 at it, see what happens, just have some fun, get your guys. You see a lot more elite quarterback, like dual elite quarterback, where guys will take like Josh Allen and Jaden Daniels or Joe Burrow and stuff like that. So I think it just comes with the tournament realistically, and it's tournaments like this that you see that kind of stuff.
Okay.
The high, like we all know that like the $100 bigger board, the 250 biggest board, those are some sharp rooms. You can't push guys, you can't get ADP value, right? There's really sharp drafters in those rooms. So again, it's pretty obvious how it happens. There's nothing wrong with playing $3 tournaments. I'm maxing this thing too. It's not nothing wrong with that. It's just like little more casual drafters come into these rooms, and then that's where you get those kind of freaky things happening. But yeah, I would agree that yes, quarterbacks are getting pulled up for sure.
I think it's interesting. I went ahead and took Jerome Ford with that pick, a guy that I don't have a ton of, but if we think Hunter's on the Browns and they're going to take a step forward or just be, not a terrible team, then potentially, obviously he could get replaced. Even if he's an RB2, this is the RB2 range. This is where all the other the assumption is, Jordan Mason 1B kind of guy. Maybe he can tip into a 1A. You see Pacheco coming back. I think obviously people are kind of out on him, it seems, but he could split the role, continue to split the role, maybe retake it. And Jerome Ford, I think, is in a similar bucket where it's guys that can do that. Trey Benson was one that I had thought of because we've got the Cardinals. At the same time, if Kyler is running the ball a lot more, maybe we don't want Trey Benson. And I wasn't so impressed with Trey Benson last season. I thought he underwhelmed a lot.
Yeah, definitely. The rookies would have been probably the outside of Ford, like Giddens
Yeah.
or Harvey would have been fine. But yeah, like Jerome Ford is a huge value in my opinion. He's right now he's the starter on that team, and really like where do we see the Browns drafting a running back to just outright replace him? I think he definitely will be the timeshare, sure, but he should be the A side of the 1A 1B on the Browns most likely, and he's got that home run ability too. So those 40-yard touchdowns, he has that depending on who they go out and get in the draft, and they will get someone. I like Jerome Ford quite a bit. He's sitting around with all these other wide receiver running back twos, and he's realistically the running back one right now.
Do you take Garendo? I really haven't.
I would take Garendo here.
You would? Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm open to it.
when we're throwing volume at it too,
Yeah.
like, again, like you just
Over
said, this is
Dowdle?
the RB. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it's the RB2 range. He's an RB2. He's the direct handcuff. Could have a lot of that Deebo Samuel role in that offense, even with Christian McCaffrey. And then we all know the fragility that comes with Christian McCaffrey right now, especially when we're throwing volume at it. Like, just throw a bunch of RB2s into that bucket and
Totally.
hope that one comes out, as the leader sort of thing. Especially with ADP, like some of those other, like Dowdle falls consistently. So I think we can probably get him at 63 here. If not, there'll be someone else that we can kind of throw at it. Again, another RB2, throw a bunch of RB2s into a bucket, pull names out of the hat, and kind of see which one hits.
That makes sense. Something else I'm thinking about, we talked about a little bit earlier, which teams are kind of in flux, a lot is changing versus which teams are going to be status quo. We moved off of the AJ Brown pick because the Eagles look about status quo, at least on their offense, where the roles are defined. Saquon came in last year and he's now the engine of that offense. AJ Brown's volume and the passing volume has been decreasing year over year. On the other hand, the 49ers are in complete turnover. Of course, CMC can be back and healthy, but Jordan Mason's gone. You said Deebo is gone. Ayuk's going to be out to start the season. We know they're going to want to run the ball a ton. So, that we want to swing for high upside. We want to swing for unknown, for variability, for people that can take a larger role in this range of the offense that they're in. So I think I can sell myself on Garendo kind of along that line and how he fits this team.
Yeah, they will draft somebody too.
Sure.
Like, find someone that loves you, like kind of Kyle Shanahan loves to draft running backs. But it's just a matter of who. And again, like, I like to look for when I'm looking for RB2s like this, I like to look for guys that can hit home runs and score you 75-yard touchdowns, 70 now with the 30-yard. And that's Isaac Rendo, 6 foot, 220, 4.3 speed. He can hit home runs. Same thing with Jerome Ford. He can hit home runs. So get those guys that can get into your lineup with one touch. That's kind of the way I look at it. Like, one screen pass, take it to the house from 45 yards, they make your lineup, whether they're the starter or not. And then that upside, the contingency upside with a guy like Garendo, like, again, we know the fragility around CMC right now. Garendo could be a league winner at this ADP, realistically. So, Steve, of course you would do that to us.
Steve grabs Kyle Williams. Sneaky. And he's had a rough draft in this room. I know he's doing multi-table, and some of his picks have been getting sniped. Jared Goff earlier. So right at ADP for any of these guys, I like Algier a lot. I would throw him up.
Yep,
do you have any other strong preference?
I'm good with any of these. Algier, like, I'd take probably one of these vets over the rookie.
Yeah.
So
I want some Algier.
like, Neal could go somewhere and end up being the RB3 and not be that number 2 back. So yeah, in this situation, in the scenario that we're dealing with, I'd rather go with a vet and kind of have a defined role where it's pretty unlikely they get replaced as the RB2 or the direct handcuff. So yeah, Steve would never let me get Kyle Williams, eh?
What are your thoughts? Gritty's comment about Dobbins to the Browns. Do you see that as a path? And then what would that do to Ford? Steve gave us a nice answer. What do you think?
I mean, I don't think many people are going to be chomping at the bit to sign J.K. Dobbins. I really don't. With all of his injury history, and he wasn't super efficient last year. He just got by with volume. Who's gonna sign, Dobbins to just hand him all of this volume that he needs to be effective? I just don't think it exists. And I don't like the Browns, maybe in division. He played for the Ravens for so long. Sure, but if I'm the Browns, you're not looking at J.K. Dobbins and being like, that's what we need in this team, in this offense. They're saying we need some rookies. We need some young blood. We don't need this dusted old veteran that has major problems with his knees, Achilles. All these injuries have stacked up. I don't have a single share of J.K. Dobbins personally. And I don't think that changes anything for Ford. I honestly, if let's say J.K. Dobbins does sign with the Browns, I don't think that affects Ford's ADP whatsoever. He's already being drafted as a 1A, 1B type of a running back. I really don't think that would affect him at all. And if Dobbins is there, I think that Jerome Ford is the A side of that, no question. So
that makes sense. I've got a little bit of J.K. Dobbins. I was kind of surprised, honestly. I think we all were surprised at what happened last season on the Chargers, but that speaks more to the Chargers' fit for any plug and play running back, in my opinion, than it does particularly Dobbins and what he can do. I have way too much Jalen Wright, and I think it's a function of team stacking, but I was a little bit underwhelmed with Jalen Wright. I think it's interesting because of the Dolphins running back room's been pretty productive for fantasy. Braylon Allen's there. I'm tempted to maybe go that direction.
I would go Braylon. We don't have any we do have Fields, but that's okay. That's kind of a play on that. Or Wright. We could go Wright or Braylon. I'm good with kind of either one.
I'll just mix it up and go Braylon. I wanted to say I had lower exposure on him than Wright. And yeah, we've got the Fields connection. I don't know if that's synergistic or like actually a bad pick, but at the end of the day, it's just sticking maybe more to a team stack in these early pre-draft, pre-NFL draft formats. We do only have 5 wide receivers. We've now evened it out a bit. I want to say that was our 5th running back, right? It was. So now, obviously, Kyle Williams is gone. It's probably not a bad spot to start to consider either running back or wide receiver going forward.
No, definitely. Again, we're throwing 7 at the running back room, so we can realistically get away from it and go to wide receiver here.
And maybe we go 8 wide receivers then, since we're pretty convinced we only needed 2 tight ends.
Yep, I think I think it's a 3-7-8-2 build. I think that's the way to go. What do we have for rookies in our wide receiver room right now?
Yeah, so remember we got Travis Hunter right at ADP, which was nice, and then our last pick was Golden.
Okay. So we definitely, we could take whatever realistically. We do need a couple more vets though, I think.
I would agree.
Yeah.
Have you been drafting any Tillman? And does the idea of having Hunter and Tillman on the same team make you want him more or less?
With Ford as well, I don't want Tillman regardless, but I'm not drafting Tillman. I'm pretty concerned with his concussion issues. It's a lot of games to miss for a young player in his 2nd concussion that we know of. I'm pretty fading Tillman, especially with Hunter coming in. And again, the concussion issues with Judy there. We don't even know who the quarterback is. I'm pretty off of Tillman, and I was pretty high on him last year personally.
Yeah.
So
I think as the offseason has continued, the interest in Tillman is just kind of gone away a little bit in general among the community. And then
it's from a Traps Hunter effect there, but
yes. And then from the dynasty perspective, he was a tall, fast receiver out of Tennessee, a lot of promise. I thought he was one of the sleepers a couple years ago. Yeah. He hadn't really had
capital.
What's that?
3rd round draft capital.
Yeah, 3rd round, which is pretty big. A lot of misses in the 3rd round. It's kind of hard to be a hit in the 3rd round, but not the worst. And then he just really hasn't produced a ton. I think he's had like 1 or 2 spike weeks, which he had 1 spike week last season. So we could do running back here. We could take like a Brashad Smith or go a little bit early on a Shipley.
What does the wide receiver room look like?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Maybe we need to go wide receiver here. We could bring up Tolbert unless you hate him.
I'd rather not Tolbert.
What about Mitchell or Royals?
Royals or Brashard Smith for me, whoever you like.
Okay, let's go ahead and grab Royals.
Okay.
I don't know a ton about Royals. I think in this range though, it's just an upside pick. Where does he land?
He could be that, like you just said, like a 3rd round wide receiver that either we never hear from again, or he's good. Maybe he's a Tank Dell type, or maybe he's a Cedric Tillman type, right? So it's hard to say with those third round wide receivers. I think he could fit really well in some offenses. Like he's going to be a slot guy, in my opinion. I think I like Royals quite a bit. I liked his profile as far as, where he came from, military family. I always like to see that. That typically is a good thing. Went to Georgia Military College before going to Utah State. So he's kind of climbed the ladder, which I like to see. I think he would fit really well with the Commanders. They could use a slot receiver like that. I think the Bears would be a fantastic landing spot in the third round.
Okay.
There's a few different places I wouldn't mind seeing Jalen Royals, but I think like it's just like the flavor of the week sort of situation. Like we saw Royals be 19th, 20th round pick, rose up to the level right with him and Jalen Noel, both rose together. And then now we've seen Noel stay where he's at and Royals fall back down for no reason, really. Not that I think he necessarily needed to be in the Jalen Noel conversation, because I don't, but in the Jack Besh conversation, sure, I like Jack Besh more than Jalen Royals, but either way, I think this is where he should go, and I think there's value in taking him where he's going at ADP.
Yeah, nicely said. I agree with the way that he kind of rose and then he's fallen back. There's some interesting landing spots. The Commanders, the Bears could work out well. If he is on the Bears, that's kind of fun since we have a Dunze as well, leaning back into the Bears. And then if he lands on the Commanders, we've got McLaurin on this team. We've got the Dak and CD stack. So, who knows?
He could fit with the Cowboys actually too. That would be all right.
Yeah, I wonder. What I was thinking is
receiver. So
what was that? Sorry.
The Cardinals could use a slot receiver like Jalen Royals. That could make a lot of sense. So we have some outs for phantom stacks.
We do kind of have a few teams that are wide receiver needy for a role player guy like that. I was going to say, when I think of Royal, I think of Eddie Royal, and that gets me excited enough. So
yeah,
just the name association.
Just click the wide receivers and running backs, get rid of tight end, quarterback.
Yeah, let's do that. And so Brown.
Like we can scroll down here as much as we want.
For running back, we're really scrolling down.
Maybe not for running back. It's probably a wide receiver here. I'd go like Brown or Bond even over Tolbert. Like if I'm taking a wide receiver too for the Cowboys, it's Kevontae Turpin.
Ooh. I know that you said that before, but it's like Look at Tolbert having the touchdowns last year.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't come with Dak typically, and if anybody's getting replaced, like Turpin got paid.
Okay, that's
true. If anybody's getting replaced, it's going to be Tolbert. So, I don't think I think a receiver like a Trey Harris makes a lot of sense, like a Jaden Higgins, a Trey Harris, Iomanor maybe. I can't think of any others off the top of my head, but a wide receiver like that makes sense for the Cowboys, where they have a kind of built-in slot returner type in Kevontae Turpin. And then again, like get a guy that can score you a 40-yard touchdown, and that's Turpin. It's not Tolbert. So I don't know. I don't mind Tolbert. I was super high on him last year, and that ended up being correct, but I could see him being replaced a little bit in this offense. So I don't know. We'll see. I could be completely wrong on the Tolbert thing, but sure, Turpin got paid to be a returner, but he's also better than a lot of receivers in his range. And I think that only goes up from where he's sitting right now.
Did someone say Scatabo? Time to roll the clip and get ready, because it might be a little bit louder than the current mic volume, but I got this one ready, teed up, and they'll make our next pick. Hype.
Yeah, he's a throwback. He's like John Riggins.
He is that old style running.
Yeah.
You love to see it.
Yeah.
Powerful back. Great contact balance. The guy's got a lot of heart.
That wasn't even Steve that sniped us on Jarquez.
Oh, dang. I was kind of forgetting about Jarquez. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Would have
We
been
need to
nice.
stay in that running back. Is Jaden Blue still? No, he just went too. Jeez.
Yeah, Blue went.
This might be an Audric Estime team where we just hope that he's the power back in that offense.
That would be an interesting way to play it. I don't have a lot of him. Would you? I mean, are you out on Michael Wilson? I'm exposed to him from earlier picks, and like I said, Kyler's
I'm not a Michael Wilson guy at all.
That's cool. That's cool. ETN or no?
I'm thinking like wide receiver here because we can get guys like that, and it's like Darius Slayton, Yoshi Voss, guys like that solid vets where we're going to get some production out of them. I'm all right with Slayton.
Let's do Slayton,
especially with the Giants, Cowboys, Commanders. Makes a lot of sense. And then we can just chuck two, like, again, Estime, ETN's fine, LaQuint Allen, Taj Brooks, all these types.
Let me let my dog in the room real quick. She's scratching at the door, and I'll come right back for this next pick.
Okay, no worries.
1 second.
Yeah, Gritty. Chubb is DED, man. He's done. Oh, nice, Meg. Nice. Yeah, he's pretty John Riggins, that's for sure. That's who I see. Just big white boy running back. Yeah, I mean, I don't even think Adrian Peterson is officially retired yet. So just because he hasn't retired doesn't mean that he's going to be playing in the NFL. So I'm pretty out on Nick Chubb completely, personally. Not that it's not, I don't like Nick Chubb as a player or person or anything like that. He's just pretty dust. Reading off the queue. Looks like we're going to have to compete with Steve for a bunch of these running backs.
Love it.
What do we have queued up in our running back room there? Oh, ETN goes.
Oh, yeah. I was trying to catch up in the chat real quick. Their estimate is still there. I think that could be an interesting way to play it. Kendre Miller. I don't love the Saints though.
We could do Taj Brooks.
Taj is a fun click. Just throw him in there. Yeah, anything can happen. I'm down for that.
LaQuint Allen's there. It's pretty thin down here.
It's getting pretty thin.
Let's hope we get Estime, I guess.
That could be it could be on this team. It could work.
I still think that Estime has a lot of value. If I'm correct, and Trevion Henderson is the running back there, and actually would play off the Trevion Henderson to the Broncos play here as well. If it is Trevion Henderson to the Broncos, then Estime still has value. So maybe not so much in the Best Ball Mania season where it's 18 rounds, but in 20-round drafts, Estime has some value with Trevion Henderson as his running mate.
That would be fun. That was like the Thunder Lightning combo. I was a little bit underwhelmed by Estime last year, but he did better than or as good as a lot of that rookie class did. Right? It wasn't that much different.
The dude's only 21 years old now.
Exciting, right?
He's still super young, and he got some good coach speak regardless from Sean Payton throughout the season. A couple times throughout the season, he got some good coach speak, and there goes Estime.
Dang.
So it happens when people in the chat are drafting with you. But yeah, I think that Estime still has some value. I really do. Unless it's Omarion Hampton. If Omarion Hampton goes to the Broncos, he's pretty much dead.
Yeah, you're right on that take about it. It depends on the type of back the Broncos take.
Yeah.
Y'all are funny. I was just catching up with the chat. I was getting so distracted, but a lot of funny stuff. And appreciate y'all all for chilling here with us tonight. Special shout out to Cody and his channel Off the Schneid. It's awesome having you on here talking ball. It's always fun to have on a good guest who can, give some strong takes, knows a lot about what's going on in the NFL. And talking over the draft with you, getting into tomorrow, is really hyped me up for it. I was already super excited about the draft tomorrow, but now I'm doubly excited to see where the landing spots that you've predicted and then we've started to think about how those work out and what kind of trades happen. So it's going to be a great time. But yeah, appreciate y'all all being here in the chat, hanging out on this late night draft stream. Make sure you're subbed to the channel. Make sure you're subbed to Cody's channel, Off the Schneid. And there's way more drafting to come all summer long. So stay tuned.
Yeah, this is just the warm up. This is the appetizer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the Tyler Bidet, whatever his name is, bags are pretty much dust. Wall, sorry.
Yeah, I forget who it was, but someone in the chat, I saw draft Bidet last week, and it was kind of funny.
Is there any other running back that we might like here? I mean, LaQuint Allen, I like that. I think he's going to force his way on the field in some situations.
Keaton Missile, Antonio Gibson, Jaleel McLaughlin.
With your exposure to
Boom.
Gibson, I think, the only one, I know some people like Keaton Mitchell, but I'm not one of those people.
I can explain the Antonio Gibson exposure. I feel like I have to. I feel like I'm being incriminated here. I drafted him in my biggest board, and I also drafted him on a lot of the original little boards that I maxed back in, that was February and March. And so that explains some of it, but I just didn't stop clicking him until way too late. He was pretty much my last round pick for a lot of my running back rooms. I guess it just came down to his filling in at the end of last season. I mean, and I also think back to players who had been good at one point. Antonio Gibson at one point was a third, fourth round pick in fantasy. Maybe never deserved that, but weirder things have happened.
We'll see if he gets replaced or not.
Yeah, he probably will to some extent. Getting Allen Jr., I think, is fun. I don't have a lot of exposure to him, but Syracuse back, good pass catcher, so could find a role on a team.
He's the best pass blocking running back in this entire class.
Ooh, there's a good little tidbit.
So best in pass pro. He's going to find his way on the field just with pass pro and third down stuff. With his pass catching and his pass pro, yeah, he's going to find his way on the field. That's for sure.
Did nobody in this room went with the 1-5-11-2? Was that must have been in your room, BBG? Unless I'm missing it. Did somebody in here go 1? No, there's no way. No, they did. Oh my gosh. We didn't even notice. We were so caught up in the great conversation and the fun chat going off. The guy in the 2 spot has one quarterback in Bryce Young.
Oh, wow.
Let's look at this team, actually. This is incredible. Of course, 1-6-11-2. I don't know how we didn't notice this. I try to pay attention to what people are doing, especially early in the draft when you still have to stack your quarterback. Did the guy take Addison? You've got Jefferson, those kind of things. But at the end of the draft, it's I start to lose a little bit unless maybe you still needed a tight end and you're trying to figure out where people take the tight ends. We had really built our team early in a strong way that we were just going to fill it out with whatever running backs were there. So we weren't really so concerned how the board was filling out. This team is something I've never seen before.
That's aggressive. That's interesting.
I'm going to be sad when it advances though. And we don't.
Pretty unlikely. Super unlikely for this team to advance. This is a free square, realistically.
I'm gonna have to put something in the title on this one to check the 2 spot to make sure that with the overlay, this isn't one of the advancing teams versus us, because that would be sad. But I don't know. With Bryce Young, we probably can't get there. That's probably too low of a floor, right?
Yeah, looks like they were on auto, which is what I was saying before. There's a lot of people auto drafting these little boards, either trying to max or just not caring or whatever. And that's where you can take advantage of it. That's for sure. Jeez.
Yeah. Just catching up. Yeah, the 2 spot. This is crazy. Yeah, we just all noticed it. Yeah, it's getting late. Let's just do. We'll do a quick review of the team that we drafted, and then I appreciate you all for being here. I think because it's so late and we've spent so much time on stream, we're not going to review everyone's teams, but super fun having y'all all in here in the chat, being active, drafting with us, and late on a what is tonight? Wednesday night. Late on a Wednesday night. So shout out to y'all. We made it to 100 subs. We got a 4-hour mega draft streamathon coming up when Best Ball Mania drops. Yeah, there's Sus. I knew you were in here. Pleasure drafting with you, my man. Yeah, we figured it out. The guy in the 2 spot. How about the 9 hole? Quick look at P Dog. What was that weird of it? It looks somewhat normal. Maybe it's 4 quarterback.
Looks like 4 QB, 5
5
QB.
minutes of 5 QB. Okay, so there's some weird stuff in this room. Somehow we were completely blind to it.
It's these little board rooms, man. They're wild.
Jeez, a 5-8, 4-3. I've literally never seen that combination. Yeah. Auto the whole time. And I try to like see who's autoing and who's not, but I completely ignored that during this draft. There was just we're kind of just drafting it. You know, it's a little board. Just fire away. Don't really worry too much about what's going on. Let's do the quick review. Appreciate Steve for being here too. Travioli, Hartman, Suss. We drafted a 3-7-8-2 team with a Kyler Murray stacked with McBride. I like to start there. Fields, getting me, to vary up my teams. I get some Fields, thanks to Cody. Prescott stacked with CeeDee Lamb. Anytime you can stack up the QB in your first round wide receiver, you almost have to do it. Henderson was our hero. We then took 6 more running backs in Ford, Gorendo, Algier, Braylon Allen, and then some rookies sprinkled in Taj Brooks and Reckham Tech, and then also LeKent Allen. I think the running back room, it's what you'd expect. It's good. If Henderson hits, it's really interesting. If one of these other guys can take over this backfield or injury fill in, whatever it takes, super interesting. We don't really need a lot from the running backs, maybe in this build particularly, because we're so good at wide receiver and quarterback and tight end. 5 teams are likely to advance. So if we can get to the playoffs with a CeeDee Lamb, McLaurin, Odunze, and then one of Hunter or Golden becoming a guy that you need as a playoff hammer, I think this is a nice wide receiver room. I always try to get 4 wide receivers that could, in any given playoff week, be the wide receiver 1. I think we're pretty close to that with this group, assuming Odunze takes a step forward. And then the Royals, Brown, and Slayton could be anything. Brown and Slayton could give us some spike weeks. And then Loveland, which I also like to fit in this team. So
it's a good team.
It's solid. It's a fun way to mix it up and not just draft a team that's more balanced. Really lean into a weaker running back room with the upside first pick and Henderson in the room. And then we secured QB and tight end pretty early. So we felt good about that.
It works. I'm happy about it.
Yeah. So with that, I'm going to thank you all for being here again. It's a super fun draft. Great talking with you, Cody. Thanks for coming on. Hope we can continue to draft this summer as we get into Best Ball Mania. And I know I'll be seeing you in the streets real soon as it is. We'll see if we're on that same Best Ball Mania schedule that we were last season, if we're in half these rooms together.
Yeah, no doubt. Go, everyone in the chat, go subscribe if you're not already. Fantasy Sanctuary tomorrow night, draft night. It's going to be a fun time.
Yes.
Myself, Emo Cowboy. I think Candyman's coming in for a bit. BBG will probably come in for a bit. PPR Tyler might come in. Fantasy Dog Pound Pat's coming in for a bit. It's going to be a fun stream. A lot of instant reactions, obviously. We're going to have fun with it. Come check us out tomorrow night.
All right. Yeah. And we'll catch y'all next time. Appreciate y'all being here. I'm going to end it on that one. Here's the outro. But overall, it's like the guy can ball. Like, actions speak louder than words.